Hey, greetings, everyone. Glenn Kellaway from the basement. Oh, here he is. Alex. We were having a bit of technical difficulties there, so thanks for your patience.
Of course, of course. How are you, Glenn?
I'm good. You got to wait a second while I do my homework here on my channel. Here, go
Mm.
ahead and chat it up, Alex.
Of course, of course. A lot of cool people already joining. Well, this is good. I mean, some of these names obviously recognize, other ones not as much. So we love that. Cardboard Head Guy's already asking some Zappa questions. We love it. So, and a tough one at that. So, maybe we can answer it, Glenn, while you're doing your homework over there. But I might have to think about it or not. Cardboard Head Guy asked what our favorite Zappa song was.
Ooh, that would be hard.
But that's a tough one. Alex responded, that's difficult, but at the moment, Big Swifty. I don't hate that choice. I think
I don't hate that choice either.
Yeah, for any of you,
I'm back.
He's back. He's back.
Wow. So, I think there's been a lot of discussion with Alex and I trying to figure out how to manage the comments. So I hope you guys don't mind. We're not going to ignore you forever, but we are going to have a bit of a one-on-one chat about this before we start bringing you guys into the conversation. So unless something that is there that relates to exactly what we're talking to at the minute, but so please don't feel like you're being ignored. We appreciate you all being here. But we got a few things to say first, just introduce this. So first of all, thanks, Alex, for being my first guest.
Wow. An honor and a privilege. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Wow, this is awesome. I've been excited about this for like a week or two since we've been talking about it, because there's nothing more than I like talking about than Frank Zappa. And it's pretty interesting subject matter, I think.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and so this is the first episode. I'm going to do one of these every week. Next week, Sam St. John and I are going to do something on Dylan. We haven't kind of figured out where it's going to go yet or what the actual subject matter will be, but we'll come up with something. Got a few other things planned, so please look for this weekly. And let's delve in, I guess. First of all, just a little introduction. Frank Zappa. Between 1966 and 1993, he released over 60 official albums. That's a lot.
Insane. Yeah.
Over 400 compositions. I mean, you think, well, he had a career longer than the Beatles, but the Beatles only had about 200 songs, right?
Which is still pretty good, but, Yeah.
Counting all the official releases that were released posthumously, plus when in his lifetime, we're up to, I think, 127. So try and be a Zappa completist.
No,
just try it.
You get about 5 more each year too. So
he released albums under the name The Mothers of Invention, just The Mothers, and Frank Zappa. I mean, so that gets confusing. The whole thing's just a big confusing mess for, I imagine, for a novice. It must just be overwhelming.
Well, and I would, interrupt that because I don't know, for the people, I'm a big Zappa fan. Obviously you are too. That's why we're here. But it is so much. It's so overwhelming. I am not an expert by any means in terms of, I need the constant cheat sheet all the time of like, wait, was that a Mother's album or was that just Frank, which also featured most of the Mothers playing on it? And what year did that come out? And was that one of the 6 albums that got released in 74? And so I say that of, we are huge fans, but at least speaking for myself, like I am not an expert by any means. I just really love the guy and love the music. So
I think generally speaking, the rule of thumb is that Frank decided whether to call it a Mother's album, a Mother's Invention album, a Frank Zappa album, on whether the band would be a touring band or it was just put together in the studio to make an album. If it was a touring band, he would call it the Mothers.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If not, then he just tours Zappa or Frank Zappa and bring whatever group of musicians he happened to be hanging out with at the time and organizing the tour with. So, another thing to mention is the word always comes up is project object.
Mm.
Frank Zappa called his life's work project object, and his definition was that he thought his whole musical career was all one thing, all one project, and
Yeah.
he would reference certain phrases, lyric phrases, different melodies, different whatever would interject in each album or whatever. So it was
Yeah.
always, to him, it was one life's work called Project Object.
Yeah. Well, and I think, the other thing that I think can get confusing for somebody looking to get introduced to it or from the outside is that, yes, there are formal studio albums and formal live albums, but even a lot of the studio albums are half live. I mean, he was notorious. He recorded every little sound
Hmm.
that he and whatever band he was working with made, whether it was
Yeah,
in a studio or on a stage. I mean, he was such a an archivist in that way,
yeah,
that every little tiny thing was recorded all the time, and some and constant overdubs. And I mean, the man, he was a genius. I know we don't use that term much to describe
hmm,
people, but to me, there is no one more genius than Frank Zappa in the
yeah.
creative musical sense.
And well, understood music. I mean, he's self-taught as someone who read music and understood harmony and
Oh yeah,
melody and whatever. That was all self-taught. He didn't, go into the library actually and reading books and studying composers, and incredible how he could write music and this
yeah,
complex stuff and just all in his mind, and
yeah.
it's crazy. One thing I want to mention is that I think a lot of to a certain point, it turns me off too, but I understand it. Is a lot of it people just think it's um, the dirty humor
Mhm,
or any of that comes up. A lot of it, people I think get turned off by that, but I think you got to understand where Frank was coming from. Before he was famous, he um, did a screenplay for a guy, did independent film producer.
mhm,
And the guy, I don't think he didn't. If I got the story right, I don't think the guy paid him, but the guy had a recording studio and he was going to let it go. And the deal was that Frank could just take over the studio. So
mhm,
Frank's in this recording studio with a, a female partner, whoever it was at the time, and this uh, undercover a cop who was working in the neighborhood. I think he thought Frank was a bit of a sleazy guy or something. He probably had long hair in 1964 or 65, And
yep,
anyway, so the guy went in as an undercover cop, said that he wanted Frank to make a porn film for him,
yeah,
trying to bust him. And Frank said, "No, I can't make a porn film." But Frank offered to make an audio recording
mhm,
because the guy said he wanted to use it for at a stag or something. So Frank and his female partner, they made this stupid video that had nothing to do with sex whatsoever. They just made stupid noises and presented this guy with this audio tape, and the guy busted him for pornography. And Frank spent some time in jail.
yeah,
And so he kind of developed this whole thing like it really nothing is offensive. It's just a word. It's
yep,
just so a lot of that's where that came from. So when you listen
yep.
to crazy
Well,
stuff.
and when I think when we get to that part of the discography, because I think with one of your, first questions or conversation points that we have was sort of, how like what was the bridge album, what got us into it, right? It was some of that like dirty, comedic stuff, but it was always, as we've talked about Joe's Garage and Sheeker Booty, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more. Those are also, he was so brilliant because those were all parodies of himself, and not himself, but they were all parodies of the rock and roll sort of lifestyle.
Mhm.
And so it was all very kind of, again, like tongue in cheek, obviously, but it was, there are parallels between the things that he's talking about and everything that was going on in the mid 70s and all that kind of stuff beyond. So
Yeah, very cool. And the other thing, you think about Frank and you look at him and you think this guy's got to be a drugged out maniac. No drinking, no drugs. This
nothing.
man was straight as an arrow.
Yep.
Didn't tolerate drugs on his tours. I mean, he was anti-drug. He was kind of anti-hippie, really. Like
Yeah.
he,
No.
he
Oh
didn't
yeah.
like that
Absolutely.
whole scene too much. It was pretty crazy.
Yep.
Um, yeah. So just one more thing. When Frank was asked to join the Mothers of Invention, which was an R&B kind of a band playing in bars and stuff in LA. He got invited to be the guitar player, and eventually with his talent, he kind of was taken over and said, hey, you guys follow me and follow my lead. We'll make some money. And they were playing, I think, at the Troubadour. And Tom Wilson, great producer with a huge resume. He was a producer on Dylan's Like a Rolling Stone, plus 2 or 3 other Dylan albums. Producer of Simon and Garfunkel albums. I mean, the guy had a resume.
Yeah.
He was told to sign some people. They were specifically looking for a blues artist to sign, and he went to LA. Happened to walk into the Troubadour when the Mothers of Invention are playing, and they're playing a blues song. And right away he signs them.
Yeah.
And then can you imagine his, as soon as he walks into the studio for the first recording session,
Yeah.
and then Frank pulls out all his stuff for Freak Out.
Oh my gosh.
How did he sell that to Columbia or to what I don't know what record company that would have been at the time, but yeah.
That reminds me, we probably won't talk about as much of his production work with, Captain Beefheart and stuff like that, but also early Alice Cooper stuff. He was the the one to find them, and of course he was just the first 2, but especially the first Alice Cooper record, Pretties for You, is very weird, very psychedelic, unlike anything else. And he said that he knew because he invited them to a rehearsal. He wanted to see them rehearse, obviously, and to audition for the label or whatever. And he said, all right, come around my house at 7:00. So they showed up the next morning at 7 a.m. to do the rehearsal. And he said anybody that would show up at 7 a.m. for a rehearsal is going to get signed. So that was the audition. Yeah.
Yeah, he played a big part in the start of the Alice Cooper band, or getting them a contract, and produced a Grand Funk Railroad album eventually, and some Beefheart stuff and whatever.
Yeah.
Very cool. What was I don't know where we go next. You want to what was? Do we start chronologically, or do we want to?
Yeah, let's start from the beginning, I guess.
Yeah.
And
no, I pulled out all CDs because I knew
they're lighter and easier to move.
I've got more Zappa on CD than I have on vinyl. I probably got about 15 Zappa albums on vinyl, and I've got like probably 70 on CD. So
yeah.
One thing I do want to mention on the CD side is that most of his albums were released on Ryko disc. That's usually what we see in the used bins is Ryko disc. And in 2012, I think I've got the year right, the Zappa family took over, reissued the whole Zappa catalog, started about from the first album on, and I think released, at first they released about 4 a month or something. It was pretty crazy. I was trying to keep up with it all, but they are well regarded. They're on Zappa Records. It's if you're ever finding these ones, these are the ones that are getting hard to find. They're on Zappa Records, and they're all numbered like chronologically. So that's you'll see the number right up on the corner here. So if you see those and you're a CD fan, grab these. So for instance, Freak Out's number 1, and Absolutely Freeze number 2, and Lumpy Gravy's 3, just the way they were released. That's how they're numbered. With all the stuff that's come out posthumously now, I think the latest release was the Overnight Sensation 50th anniversary, and it's number 127. So there's 127 of these to buy if you want to try and get a complete discography. Good luck finding that.
Good.
Anyway, kick it off, Alex.
Well, yeah. So we were talking a couple weeks ago about sort of the audacity of some debut records that were doubles. Chicago did it a few years later, and they put out like 4 in a row. And there's not a long list of people whose debut was a double record. But yeah, allow the first to be, well, not the first, but I mean, well, actually, yeah. I mean, this was released around the same time as Blonde on Blonde, but obviously,
within a month of each other.
The debut here. But yeah, Freak Out, double record. But this is early, and we'll talk about this too. I would say not all mothers are created equal. Oh, that's a soundbite that I don't know if I want out there. But there are multiple sort of renditions of the Mothers, and so the first incarnation of the Mothers really came from a lot of the psychedelic, not quite garagey, but certainly noisy. They had more of that poppy, bluesy kind of background. They were more in the creative avant space, where the later Mothers that we'll talk about was really more about virtuosity, musicianship, etc. Both are great in their own right, but it was certainly a musical sort of shift that, the story was like, Frank fired most of the Mothers and brought in better musicians. I mean, that was sort of the story with
Pretty
it. But
Yeah.
but
That
that's
really
not to
would have
say that
boiled
these
down
weren't good
to it. At
records.
some point, they couldn't play the music he had in his head.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, I mean, this one, and then what would come after with Absolutely Free 67. I mean, these are great, but I think in terms of accessibility, I think also accessible too if you're looking to dip the
Mhm.
toes in. It's not mainstream by any means, but it's also not. He has some stuff here in a little bit that gets real weird.
Mhm.
Like I would not recommend Uncle Meat up front, but these two I think are more in line with. I hear I think of like I hear a goofier Grateful Dead debut.
Yeah.
Kind of again psychedelic, bluesy, kind of noisy, funny, random sound effects here and there, but I still think accessible for the novice who's looking to
Yeah.
dive in.
If you can listen to Jefferson Airplanes after bathing at Baxter's, you'll have no problem listening to those first two Mothers of Invention albums.
Yeah. I would agree. Yeah, for sure. And yeah, these were on Verve. Somebody mentioned, Verve. I mean, they were,
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much a jazz, jazz and blues label. And then I think you had Frank, and then you had like Velvet Underground was on Verve, I think too.
Yeah.
So,
So, I was turned on to Freak Out not in 1966, but in 1967. I had a friend who just was on the cutting edge of everything that was released. I don't know how they figured it out, like some of the stuff, because we didn't have internet and there was no Rolling Stone magazine yet or anything. You just went to record stores and discovered stuff.
yeah.
And, I was turned on to this album and it just freaked me out. And I didn't buy this right away. I'd heard it, but when Absolutely Free came out and I heard Brown Shoes Don't Make It,
Yep.
I was an instant Zappa freak. That's the one that is my if I'd say this is my gateway to Frank Zappa is Absolutely Free.
Was Absolutely Free. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah,
I
well,
actually got to see the Mothers at that time. In 1968, I saw the Mothers at a place called Convocation Hall in Toronto, which was University of Toronto's hall where they have their ceremonies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Probably holds a couple thousand people, 1,500 people or something like that. So it was pretty cool seeing them back then.
Oh, first and only time? Did you see them later too?
First and only time.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think that's again, thinking about maybe the uninitiated out there or whatever, of if you see these two records or CDs or whatever it is, like I think they're well, inoffensive might not be the right word because there's probably some offensive stuff, but I don't think I think it's a good place to start because it sounds a little bit more like some other stuff that might have also been going on.
And they played some good rock music in there. I mean, there was just a bit of parody and stuff involved in it too, as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep. Which I think is different. I have all these, chronologically. That's the other thing. These things chronologically are hard to keep up with because I don't know if we spend a whole lot of time on this, but I want to mention it because there are not debates, but there's the technicality with what his first Frank solo record was, because it was Hot Rats in terms of him playing on it, but right off the bat, he's doing actual orchestral composition.
Yeah.
With Lumpy Gravy, which again,
that's the third album in this.
Yeah. This is out there. But again, he's not playing on this. So it's kind of a technicality because he was the orchestrator and he was the composer. But it's not I mean, it really is more of a sort of a free avant classical type of approach, which is very different than what, was coming before and after.
Yeah. And the other thing I think you got to mention is Frank's influences when he was a teenager and started getting into music. It was blues and R&B. He loved blues guitar, and doo-wop music was huge.
Yep.
He was also into a couple of crazy composers. I'm trying to remember, it was Stravinsky, and I'm trying to remember the other dude's name. That guy, like if you listen to his music, it almost sounds like Frank Zappa music in the 1920s. It's like all banging and it's crazy stuff.
Oh yeah.
You can really hear that he maintained those influences all through his life composing. So.
Yeah. Well, what a segue, Glenn, because you said doo-wop. So, it's like, what do you do early in your career when you release two of these psychedelic rock pop sort of records? Why not release a doo-wop record?
Why not?
Why not?
Crazy when that came out, how different it was.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what, 1968, 67, 68 this came out?
8, I believe.
I mean, we were into Hendrix and Cream, and all these British blues bands were exploding. And Frank comes out with Reuben and the Jets.
Well, and I mean, just the cover art here too. I mean, and then
it's well done. The music's well done. If you like 50s like rock and roll and doo-wop music, they do it straight. They don't. It's not a parody.
Yeah. So we say of like, if you're out there and you see Cruising with Reuben and the Jets, it is a doo-wop record. I mean, it is a full-on 50s diner style doo-wop record that doesn't sound anything else that was done. Somebody did say it, so while we're in show and tell mode about we're only in it for the money. I always show this cover. I've messed with it inside and out so many times, but of course, this was what the original artwork was supposed to be before I think Capitol gave them the blackball there.
Yeah.
But apparently, there was a conversation with Frank and Paul
McCartney or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul gave him his blessing, didn't he?
Yeah, I think there was some money. I mean, I think he paid him.
I think the record company kind of kiboshed it on them.
Yeah, but my favorite
Jimi Hendrix is there. All the people who were there, look on the right there. You'll see Jimi Hendrix in the flesh.
Yep.
That's another thing about Frank, is like he was so well respected. If you've read any Frank biographies, anybody who came to LA, they could hardly wait to go visit Frank at his house.
Yeah.
I mean, Mick Jagger and Keith Richards were there all the time. There was so many, just every big artist.
Yeah.
Just went to hang out with Frank. That's crazy. What was your album? What made you even the least bit interested in getting into Frank Zappa?
Yeah, first time I ever heard about Frank Zappa, I was in high school. I was with my friend and my friend's dad, who, the owner of the Vinyl Garage, the Vinyl Garage guy. And they were mentioning Frank Zappa, but it was just one of those names I just knew. But funny enough, the first record I listened to or heard, I guess we're jumping up, 10-ish so years, was Shake Your Booty, which, funny enough, is technically, I was reading earlier, the highest selling. This has sold like 2 million records or something. I mean,
is that his biggest seller?
A lot, yeah. I mean, a lot. It's like this, and Apostrophe is a big one.
I thought Apostrophe or Overnight Sensation would have been the two biggest ones, but it doesn't shock me if that is, because it's kind of the one you see in everyone's collection. If they're even casual Zappa fans, they either have Joe's Garage or Shake Your Booty, right?
Yeah, and around the exact same time too. This is sort of late 70s, and yeah, this is, to me, this is prime perfect dirty comedy, but awesome music. I mean, I remember the first time I think I was hearing Broken Hearts Are for Assholes, and all this, Crisco wristwatch, and all this different stuff. And this is a totally, I mean, inappropriate, especially in 2024, but the first time I heard Bobby Brown Goes Down, I was like, how was he getting away with this? And I mean, he wasn't in the States. That song was huge in Europe.
Yeah.
But here in the States, and I'm not sure if up there, but there was no way they were going to play that. And again, it's a pop rock song, telling the story of a very like privileged rich guy who gets whatever he wants to, and then, has some sexual encounters, and then turns out he likes the golden showers. I mean, it's the whole thing. It is ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. But that was that. And maybe that's why I hold these types of records in Joe's garage in such a higher, if I had listened to, if my bridge album was, Hot Rats or Waka Jawaka, I'd probably have a feeling of this, like, this is lame. This is stupid. This is just cheesy. But this is what I was listening to this as, a 16-year-old. And I was like, oh my God.
See, even I remember my daughters listening to that stuff, like with their friends too, going like Joe's garage and whatever. I'm just going, oh my God. Like, because I'm such a fan of Frank's music more than that type of comedy stuff. That's I think I get bored with the comedy. Like after I've heard it and laughed at it once, I kind of don't want to hear it again. That's why one of my least favorite Zappa periods is the Flo and Eddie years, which is from what, 70, 71?
Yeah.
And I was with our good friend Larry Graves today, and he said, does Alex like the Flo and Eddie years? Because that's Larry's favorite. And I said, I got to ask him.
I struggle with that.
Like, how many times can you hear Billy the Mountain?
And it was never, I think I struggled so much with the period because the music is so great.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just has these sort of like, like these just, caterwauling type things going on. And, it's like, they're great. I would just like to go back, and maybe this is out there, of like, that was a total Frank thing. I mean, nothing was going to happen in that band without Frank saying, we're going to bring in the turtle, Flo and Eddie to do this type of stuff. And I do still enjoy it. I don't dislike these records. It's just probably by far my least favorite eras, right?
Exactly. That's what I feel.
And then, of course, all the John Lennon and Yoko connection on this one, right?
Well, of course. And we'll let Frank know that Frank would be happy to know that he wasn't very happy with John for stealing. John and Yoko played with Frank at the Fillmore East, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
And they did a Frank song called King Kong, I believe.
Yep.
And John decided to steal it and call it his own composition on the Somewhere in New York album. And Frank was none too pleased.
Yeah.
But
I was interested because, this is the, I guess the, original or whatever. Of course, this was when, for the label people out there, on Bizarre Records, which was, it was all part of Reprise, but Frank's sort of labels was Bizarre and then Straight. So the Beefheart stuff and then the Alice Cooper stuff, early Alice Cooper was on Straight, and then the Blue Bizarre, but it was all sort of part of the Reprise umbrella. But I mean, what I appreciated was that they did the reissue of it, like the 3 LP, which was like the whole set, and I was kind of interested in that for the extra stuff there. But
wow, that's crazy. So you started with Shake Your Booty.
I started with Shake Your Booty, and then I probably didn't really start getting too interested until I really started getting back into music. Now, I mean, and I've always been a really big fan of just artists who are completely wacky and different. Even if I don't directly connect with them, it's like I see them, I appreciate what they're doing. And so Frank was the king of that, right? Like, I mean, nobody else. I mean, there were some other artists that were doing some similar-y type of things, but not like that from a standpoint of, 1 year he's putting out a perfect jazz fusion record, and then the next year he's putting out a classical record, and then there's a doo-opera. I mean, so I just became really infatuated with him as an artist, and then kind of once you go down the rabbit hole, there's no coming back. So what was yours you said was
Yeah,
absolutely free, but
so absolutely free, and then I went back and got Freak Out and got We're Only in It for the Money. They were the three, and then I completely ignored. Like I was just too young. I mean, I was in 1969. I was 16 years old, and I was into Zeppelin and
mhm.
the classic stuff that was going on at the time. And so for me to listen to jazz fusion or anything would have been just so beyond my musical brain.
Yeah.
So I didn't really get back into Frank after those three albums until we started to get Overnight Sensation and Apostrophe and Zoot Allures and uh, Burnt Winnie Sandwich for a bit too.
Oh, yeah.
Not all the whole album, but so it took me going back to eventually when I started to get into jazz and stuff in the late 70s, early 80s, my mind started to open up, my musical horizons, and then started to appreciate the other stuff he was doing. So I
Yeah.
kind of caught up
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah. And I think that's sort of, I don't, maybe we'll get to this, but that sort of era that you're talking about there of the uh, overnight sensation, one size fits all, apostrophe, that sort of collection there, I personally think would be where I would recommend people because to me it includes the bit of everything that we love,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
It's got the jazzy bits, but it's not jazz. It's got killer guitar playing, but it's not you know, wanking.
Hmm.
It's got comedy, but it's clever and not as dirty as what would come later, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Do you want to show some of those?
Yeah. It's basically actually that's the last release that came out here is the 50th anniversary of Overnight Sensation. So
Yeah.
uh where the heck are these things? Man, it's hard to find now.
Yeah. This, gosh, I mean, this this period, and that's the other thing. I guess when he's released a bazillion albums, it's hard to zone in on one. But um, going from overnight sensation, then
Yeah, these are I think are the three kind of yeah, I agree. And One
yeah,
Size Fits All is another one, but that's Apostrophe. Probably still, well, Hot Rats is kind of my favorite now, but Apostrophe was always my favorite Zappa album.
oh yeah. And even somebody mentioned this before too, but this is I
Zoot
put
Allures is a great album. I did a
right up
Frank
there
Zappa
too.
video like I don't know a year ago or something like that, and my whole idea was what to come up with what's the album that people should listen to first,
Mm.
and I ended up deciding it was Zoot Allures for some reason. I don't know why, but
I wouldn't disagree with that. I'd say yeah, it's a great choice.
yeah, it's a rock album really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and yeah.
Wound up working in the gas station. Wound
Yeah,
up.
wind up working at a gas station, Black Nat, The Torture Never Stops.
The torture never
Yeah,
stops. Oh man, I
Bigger
love it.
Finer, Wonderful Wino, Zoot Allures is a great song. Disco Boy.
I always this God, I have so many records over here because we're talking about like I'm making a mess of it, Glenn. I just gotta, show this one. Of course, the two big around here, live records during this time were 74 Roxy and Elsewhere,
Yeah.
which is great. And then a couple years later, live in New York or Frank Zappa in New York. But
Mhm.
this is the funny story for some of the music fans out there. Of if you can find a very first original of this, which I think was Europe, this was one of the classic album stories of it got put out for a few days and then immediately rescinded by the label
No, I didn't know.
because um, the track list that's on like the later second presses or whatever um, leaves out the song Punky's Whips, which was originally on side one. Punky's Whips was in reference to the guitarist in Angel and was a complete just rip on him. And so that went out as Punky's Whips, and then people didn't like that so much, and so they rescinded it and put it back out. So if you're able to find, and again, they're more readily available in Europe because I don't know if they ever got released here in North America.
That's funny.
But yeah, the original's got Punky's Whips on there, got rescinded, and went with something much cleaner, like what opening with Titties and Beer, obviously. So, they're keeping it clean either way, right?
Yeah, it's a great live album though. Both of those are excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a few years ago they put out. It's too bad you're a vinyl only guy. You don't do CDs, right?
Yeah, I would have to change my name to CDs and beer
Yeah,
or
it's
whatever.
too
I
bad
can't do
because
that,
there's
yeah.
been so much great stuff. Like, I mean, Zappa, most of the stuff he's releasing that's really worth having now is on CD. But
Yeah.
they released the Roxy box,
Oh,
all the Roxy performances, probably came out about 4 years ago. It's incredible. 7 CDs of all the performances, rehearsals,
yep.
everything. I mean, just an amazing set.
Gosh, yeah.
If you can get your hands, it's only like $60 too for 7 CDs. It's
See, that's
fantastic.
the type of stuff that would make me get into CDs, is getting,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
7 CDs is equivalent to 14 LPs.
yeah,
So,
yeah. It's incredible. So stuff
man.
like that. Some of the live stuff. Do you have favorite, like when you're listening to lives? You know what's funny? I'm noticing as we're doing this chat, I'm saying to myself, is we're jumping a bit all over the place.
Mhm.
But Frank jumped all over the place. Like it's almost impossible to have a conversation from, well, in 1964 Frank did this, and
Right.
1965 this, and Frank got married, and like he
Yeah.
was convoluted and all over the frickin' place. It's impossible not to jump around.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned it before. I think it's a good place maybe to rewind. Do you want to talk about Hot Rats a little bit?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Good.
How can we not? So that came out in 69. That's after he fired the original Mothers of Invention, right?
Mhm.
Pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
He had these other ideas in his head, went with a smaller group of musicians, and came up with Hot Rats.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if did Waka Jawaka and Grand Wazoo kind of come out of that same sessions, kind of a lot of it.
Yeah, in fact, it's I don't know where to go. Waka Jawaka is framed as Hot Rats Part 2.
Yeah, that's right.
And then Grand Wazoo is very, very similar. I mean, those are like the three, I guess we would say, like if you're a jazz person or a jazz fusion person, I think those three, Hot Rats, Waka Jawaka, and the Grand Wazoo, are must-have.
Absolutely essential albums.
Yeah.
If you're getting into Zappa, you got to love those.
Yeah.
They're brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they just thought like Waka Jawaka and Grand Wazoo were just reissued last year, and they sound like the remix and the remaster sounds absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, so 69, I think isn't this like his sister or something? Is that the story? Kind of looks like his.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Just crawling out of the hole. Yeah, but I mean, this is, and worth saying too, for those who love shorts like Glenn does, maybe my favorite, and I got no problem with his vocals on this because I think they're great, but the only vocal track on here is Willie the Pimp.
Yeah.
Which of course is Captain Beefheart, and I think he fits it perfect.
Oh, he does. It's a great song. Great track.
So, yeah.
But
the rest of that album.
Yeah. It's a brilliant album. Brilliant.
Absolutely.
They here I go again with the CD package, but they released this, right?
Ooh, man.
The Hot Rat Session.
God.
This is 6 discs of every minute Frank spent in the studio working on Hot Rats. I mean, it starts off with just a piano playing a basic track, and then this is added and that's added. Then you hear this, then you hear some of the jams, then and then eventually you get the whole album. But this is just for anybody who's really a serious Zappa fan should give this a listen from start to finish. It's incredible. You really see how his mind works. But another fantastic set.
It is true though, Glenn. When you show those, that more than anything is what wants to make me. It's not like I'm anti-CD, obviously. Yeah. I think it just means that I would have to buy a CD player. Mm-hmm. Do they even make those anymore? I'm just kidding.
Yes, they do.
But gosh, I mean, getting stuff like that.
You can go pick them up used now. People trade them in.
Oh,
you buy one for $50 somewhere.
Well, even I could do that,
Yeah, there you go. And you also, while we're on the Waka Jawaka thing, this came out last year too.
Oh yeah.
This is called Waka Wazoo. Another 5 disc set focusing on those albums and outtakes and jams and whatever else that happened in the making of those albums.
Yeah.
And another interesting thing we should mention, I think while he was recording that album, was that not when he was recuperating from the big push off the stage?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I completely forgot
So
about
he was
that.
playing actually on the same tour. That whole tour turned into a nightmare because that was the same tour where they were playing where Deep Purple does "Smoke on the Water" and
Yep.
in
Yep.
they meant Frank Zappa and the Mothers were in the same, whatever how the line goes, but the arena burnt down or whatever, and Frank lost all his equipment, and they went to England. They played, I don't know if it was Royal Albert Hall or wherever they were in London at some venue, and some crazed fan whose I think girlfriend had a crush on Frank, and he was a little jealous. He ran up on stage and pushed Frank off the stage.
It was a tall stage too.
It was a tall stage, and Frank was in bad shape. I mean, I think, broke every bone in his freaking body.
Yeah.
And he was in hospital for a while and convalescing at home, started creating these incredible records.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that whole story. Yeah. Not to backtrack, but I will say, back on sort of Hot Rats time. Well, we're still talking Hot Rats and sort of the jazzy stuff. There's other stuff that was coming around the same time that might not be as accessible, which is fine. Different strokes for different folks on that type of stuff. And this, I guess, technically is considered a soundtrack. But I don't know if you've ever been able to get into this at all.
I have trouble with it.
Yeah. It's not. Yeah, I don't think it's not really made for. I think. Well, it is obviously, but
yeah, there's certain ones I have trouble with. That's one of them. To sit and give that like a listen, to put it on, go, I think I'll listen to 200 Motels today. No. Yeah.
And Uncle Meat would be the other one, I think.
Yeah.
And they're both doubles too. I mean, that was the other thing. This man put out so many double records.
Yeah.
So many. But along that same sort of jazzy-ish type of route too, Chunga's Revenge is, I think, great.
Great record.
Falls within that.
I'm wearing a Chunga's Revenge t-shirt.
Ooh, I love that. Oh, that's very cool. I love that. Can't forget the old.
Oh yeah, these are my flash. These are all kind of mid-70s albums.
We're talking here about 70, I think.
Right around 70. Okay, yeah. It's hard to keep track of those. Yeah, One Size Fits All, Burnt Weenie Sandwich. There.
Oh yeah. Based on a true story, by the way, he did eat a burnt weenie.
He liked eating burnt wieners.
That's right.
Yeah, he had a terrible diet. He didn't like anything. He was happy just eating a fried up hot dog.
Yeah.
The man lived in his studio. I don't know his family ever saw him that much. He got up, probably said hello to them, and did whatever he had to do as a dad and a husband, and then just went down in his
he was doing that until the day he died. I mean, in his final days and weeks, there's he's still spending 15 hours a day in the studio.
Yeah, it's incredible. It really is.
Man.
Yeah. He deserves much more respect than he gets as an artist. A lot of people just say, "Oh, I can't get into Zappa, or can't do Zappa or something." But man, he's brilliant.
Want to go into your favorite era, the comedy phase?
Yes.
The comedy phase. I don't know that this quite fits directly into there, but it's kind of the start of it, I would say. Well, there's a lot of comedy on Apostrophe and all that kind of stuff, but when we go into more, locker room talk, I guess we'll say, right? The album he did with Captain Beefheart,
one of my favorite Zappa albums.
I'll go for and Frank was a lot of things, but there are some guitar solos that stand out more than others. His guitar solo in Muffin Man, rips. Absolutely rips.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh yeah, this is an incredible album. Deborah Cadabra, Carolina Hardcore Ecstasy, classic song. Yeah, this is a absolutely amazing album. Cucamonga. Yeah, you were right. Yeah. That's one of my. If I was ranking Zappa albums, it's top 5 for me.
Oh yeah. I could buy that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you did. It took me a long time to find that on vinyl
Oh yeah,
at a decent price.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny too. I know you've had a lot of exchanges with Larry because I know he's a huge Beefheart fan, and I think you
Yeah.
like some of the stuff, but don't if you're afraid or don't like Captain Beefheart, don't be afraid of this because
Yeah.
it really is it really feels it's a Frank album that features Captain Beefheart, not the other
Mhm.
way around.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
And for those who don't know, Don Van Vliet, who was Captain Beefheart, him and Frank were childhood friends. They grew up in the same town, went to high school together, and known each other since they were like 14, 15 years old. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah, the comedy. So I thought you were gonna. Yeah, I thought you were gonna show.
These.
Yeah.
Now, I know how you feel about these. Um, I love it. I absolutely love it. I put this in, my top 10 concept records of all time, you know.
I keep meaning to go back and give it a listen. I haven't listened to them for so long, those records, but
Yeah. How about this one? This one, you got something at a discounted price, Glenn. You can see this one belonged. It looks like this one belonged to one T-Bone Walker. Wow.
oh, look at that! You got T-Bone Walker's autograph on a
Who would
on a,
have
on
thought?
a Frank Zappa album. That's crazy.
Now, I
You're
what I
so
will say
lucky.
is, if you are, if you're coming from the progressive rock side, if you like the big, grandiose, conceptual things, this could be a good place to start. I mean, it's a ridiculous story, but not that ridiculous. It's just a dirty, silly story. But again, a parody of sort of the time of just,
Yeah,
guy becomes a rock star and lives the rock star life, and terrible things happen. And but it's, I mean, gosh, the why does it hurt when I pee, and all the different stuff going on. Um, but to me, and I think a lot of the Joe's Garage people would probably agree, the highlight on so this was released in two parts. Act one was a single, and then
that's
Act
the
two
only
came
one
out
I
as a
have on vinyl is Act One. I have the 3 parts on CD.
oh, okay, that's right. Yeah, which again would be that would be the way to do it, probably, right? Um, but yeah, I mean, the highlight for me on Joe's Garage, other than just the hilarious story and just sitting there going, "What is they can't say that," is the penultimate track, I think, Watermelon and Easter Hay, arguably Frank's crowning guitar move.
Mhm.
I've always compared it to it's like a David Gilmour influenced guitar solo in a way. Super melodic,
Yeah.
very odd time signatures, of course. We haven't even, gosh, we're 50 minutes and we haven't even talked about the bands and the people
No.
that they brought in at these points. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, I do love these, and I also totally understand where people are like, yeah, this era is not for me. These were a little bit weird.
Yeah, but they're popular. Yeah,
Yeah.
really popular. I think if I went to
Existential
someone's house
screech
and
emitter.
was gonna guess on what Zappa album they might have in their collection, I'd be guessing Joe's Garage or Shake Your Booty. So
Yeah, yeah.
that's what I see the most anyway.
And I would say too, and if we end up going down this path of talking about, the bands, I would say two musicians and more than anyone else did a better job of pulling together band members that would go and do later greatness, and that would be Frank Zappa and Miles Davis.
Mhm.
If you think about bringing in young talent, I mean, a lot of people know the story, but Steve Vai, who has become
Yeah.
one of the most respected virtuoso guitar players ever,
Mhm.
started as a transcriber in Zappa's band,
Yeah.
and then later joined. I mean, you got Vinnie Colaiuta on these records, you got
Yeah.
Jean-Luc Ponty on some record. I mean,
Oh,
the lineups were just insane.
yeah.
George
Yeah.
Duke, obviously, so many
Yeah,
people.
George Duke. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'd love to get into talking about some of the different incarnations of the Zappa band because there's some of them are just do you have a favorite era or a favorite band that he had or
Ooh, I
'cause mine is the 73, 74 band with, Ruth and
oh, yeah.
Yemi Wood, Napoleon Murphy Brock, Tom Fowler, Chester Thompson on
Oh
drums,
my gosh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, all that.
George Duke. I mean, just
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, that era is perfect. I mean, the
Yeah.
band's amazing and
That,
a great yeah.
that 50th anniversary they just released of, um, Overnight Sensation. I'm not sure if you can buy the whole thing on vinyl, but if you could, you should get it because they have 2 concerts on there from that era with that band, and one was from Hollywood Palladium, the other one's from Cobo Hall in Detroit, and the
Oh,
concerts are just unbelievable.
yeah.
Man.
And that was really, going back to our earlier point of why he wanted a different sort of mothers was that he wanted musicians who could play what was in his head.
Yeah.
And those cats could, and
Yeah.
insanely well too.
And
It also makes sense.
He would rehearse these people for 8-10 hours a day. Like he seriously rehearsed, like not,
Yeah.
let's smoke a joint and play another song. It was like a lot of times he would leave, and I can't remember who the bass player was that kind of took over. Who was his bass player for many years? He would take over like the whole rehearsal, and they would just drill like they were Marine band sergeants. Just
Oh my
you
gosh,
learn
yeah.
this part. You got to be able to play this part exactly when Frank wants. When he raises his finger, the other thing he did when he was leading his band, it would be like he would have different things. Like he could, if he raised one finger, that meant okay, now make this kind of a sound or that. Like it was incredible the way he was a drill sergeant.
Well, and going back to these ones before, I was sort of looked at like, Act 1 is sort of like the comedy stuff, and then Act 2 is where the true just musicianship comes in. But one of the songs that has been sort of there's a lot of them. Was it Notes on a Black Page is another one. But for drummers out there, and again, just Vinny Colaiuta has become. He's amazing drummer. But the track "Keep It Greasy," there are bits in there that are in like, I forget the exact time signature, but it's like 21:16 or something. Some of the most insanely complex rhythmic passages, sprinkled in between some dirty lines. It's just the bands were just insane.
That's crazy. Are you familiar with this book?
I've seen it, but I've never
The Big
read it.
Note by Charles Ulrich. It's thick, man.
Wow.
This
probably
is
one of the first 5 years
book I've ever seen on any musician ever. It's every song, every album, everything, all in depth of what was going on at the time. The first of it, he goes through touring chronology. So if we want to talk bands, he goes breaks it down into all years, like 65 to 69, and it's just an incredible resource. It's well worth owning if you're a Zappa fan. I think it costs about $40, but it's worth every penny.
But that's less for us down here,
Yeah, great book.
It's about 25 American.
Yeah, is that what it is? Probably. Well, no, about 5 American, probably if it's 40. Yeah. Well, actually, it should say. Usually it says Canada this much in US. Yeah, actually $45 Canadian, $39 US. It says.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I will say, one of the sort of side effects of really getting involved, obviously not just with listening and collecting and then now doing the YouTube thing, is I hate reading. I hate reading. Despise it. I could not tell you the last book I read. It was probably in high school. I didn't read a book in college, but
these are all Zappa biographies.
But I say all of this of like, this is the missing piece of my experience that I need. Like the great Steve at All the World's a Stage. We all love Steve. Amazing, right?
Yeah.
He has sent me books because it's like such a great deep dive into a particular artist. I know he sent you the Lou Reed book, obviously that you're probably you've read probably 3 times by now.
Quickly. Yeah, I had to get that out of my house.
Yeah, but I would, one of my goals maybe this year, it's not too late for a New Year's
resolution. Actually read a book.
I would love to read a book. I don't even know if I can read anymore.
Well, start with like a book that's really not really a book that you have to read from page 1 to page 100. You just pick it up and open any page and read about whatever album and
any pictures in there.
You know what I mean? There's no there's no pictures in it. I can't believe how long it would have taken this guy to do this.
Gosh,
it's insane.
Yeah. There's only so many Wikipedia pages I can read, so I'm figuring.
Yeah. No, I love reading. I'm a massive reader.
Well, where to next? You want to keep kind of going chronologically ish?
We can. I'm losing track of where we are. We're in the 80s now.
Well, and I know you. I think we're
And there's
late
some weird
70s.
stuff coming up.
I know you love these two well, let me rephrase that. These are sort of viewed as a bit of a pair. I know you love one and probably really like the other one. I hope I'm not talking out of turn on that one. But these, I think, are both sort of, yeah.
Yeah. That came out and then ended up as something happened with the record company. I don't know the story. There was 3 albums. There was these 2 and Orchestral Favorites
Mm-hmm.
that were released. And I think the record company refused to release them. Is that the story?
I'm not sure. Does this also go into the whole story of leather?
Stop it.
Please check your Wi-Fi.
Sorry about that.
Because does this go into the story of like the leather story?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Orchestral Favorites, which I love.
Which, but is an orchestral record, people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is not just like this is a full orchestra album. I mean, it's not like anything like these. Yeah.
Yeah. And Sleep Dirt. And I really, my biggest problem with Studio 10 is Gregory Peccary. Just
Gregory Peccary.
Too long.
Yeah. Definitely.
But it ended up coming out. Somehow he said, well, I'll teach you. I'll release it anyway. And I think he released it as leather, right? Which is kind of a hard one to find. Why I can't even find it in my collection. But it's here. I've got a table sitting beside me with like almost 70 CDs sitting on it. So forgive me for looking like a stumbling, fumbling fool. Yeah, there's now it's spelled lather, but it's pronounced leather.
Hence the cow.
Yeah, but this has basically the 3 albums that we just showed on it. And I don't know if this was ever released on vinyl, but I imagine if it was, it's probably worth a friggin' fortune.
Yeah, it might have come out later. I don't know.
That's something they should reissue.
Yeah.
But excellent. Yeah, we're getting into some wacky stuff. What year would they have come out?
These are 7. Ooh, I just saw this is a promo copy. Yeah, fun. These we're talking 79, 80-ish.
Okay.
79.
Wow. I mean, didn't Shake Your Booty and Joe's Garage come out around that same time?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
phenomenal. It's crazy.
Yeah. And I will say one of the another Zappa highlight was definitely I love how this record closes with The Ocean is the Ultimate Solution. Again, another just wildly good Zappa solo, guitar solo moment written all over it.
Yeah, they're really good albums, especially Sleep Dirt. That's, I think, amazing.
Yeah. Now we're into the 80s.
Now we are into the 80s. Now we're into some wacky stuff.
Now we're
Joe's Garage, and now we're getting there. This is some crazy stuff here. I don't know. I don't rate this as my favorite. The 80s as Frank's best era. For me, I don't know how you feel about it, but there's some crazy albums coming out.
Yeah.
Garage, I think Hell, Broadway the Hard Way. I mean, there are just
and some of those too. I don't have. I think I'm nearing the end of my nearing the end of the collection here. So I don't have some.
You Are What You Is. That's a pretty good album.
Yeah, these two stand out. I think these two are really strong.
I was going to say Tinseltown Rebellion. That's the one I just grabbed. Excellent. Yeah. And You Are What You Is. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Tinseltown. This is a live record.
Yeah.
But yeah, now you're. But still, the lineup though, I appreciate this. You still got Ike Willis and Ray White, who I mean, just awesome. You got Steve Vai is now full member of the band, not just doing transcribing, and he's also on here under not under lead guitar. He's under here as Strat Abuse, is in the liner notes. Strat Abuse. Yeah, but both of these are great. I mean, we're going places here in a second where things really start changing, but these are still kind of within the late 70s soundscape, I think.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm trying to find some other stuff here. Of course, Frank's favorite holiday was Halloween.
Halloween, that's right.
And they released a ton of, there's Halloween 73, Halloween 77, Halloween 81, all great live shows. Some of them came in wacky packaging with masks and gloves and all that, which I do have somewhere. I didn't bring them out. They also he released a whole series, and some of it's on vinyl. You can't do that on stage anymore.
Yeah.
Which are kind of compilations of, except for one. Number 2 is a great live show from Helsinki, Finland. You can't do that on stage anymore. Volume 2, absolutely the most essential one in my opinion.
Yeah.
Whatever the heck it is, I can't find it.
This is the only one I have.
Yeah, I don't think they released all of them on vinyl, did they?
No. So this was interesting because this was a record store day issue, and I was looking forward to them doing. Usually it's like if you're going to do one, you're going to do the rest of them. Because isn't there a total of like 6?
Yeah, there's 6 volumes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
also, this album's worth mentioning too. If you're just if you're a guitar freak, there's an album just called Guitar, which is a whole just Frank Zappa guitar solos, one after another. After a while, you go, no more guitar, please.
Well, so then you have Guitar, and then you have the later box that came out.
Yes.
So this is Shut Up and Play Your Guitar. Shut Up and Play Your Guitar Some More.
I'm jealous you got that one.
In Return of the Son of the Shut Up and Play Your Guitar.
I'm jealous you got that. And then we could go to probably what's considered the worst Frank Zappa album ever made.
Well, I'm curious here.
Thingfish.
I've never heard it.
Yeah, it's a tough list. Very tough. I don't know if that's available on vinyl.
Yeah, because what year is that? It's what, 88-ish?
1986, I think.
It must have been released. I just don't think I've never seen it out there.
1986.
Yeah. Now we talked that theoretically Sheeker Booty sold the most records worldwide, but he did have a touch of pop in him. I think this is a fine record, but obviously the song itself is a bit of a novelty.
Yeah, I have that on vinyl too. Yeah, that's
with Valley Girl, right?
Of course, which was a huge hit for his daughter.
A huge hit for One Moon Unit. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, they were going on all the talk shows together, and MTV. And I mean, it was just huge.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
I love this cover, by the way, and I love this title because a lot of people don't even see it at first, but the name of the album is Ship Arriving Too Late to Save a Drowning Witch. And the cover, you just have clearly just just the lines of a boat and then the hat of a witch, and it's just fantastic.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Let's see what else. Now, some of the other stuff that's in this world here, again, this is where these are in what is it, Barking Pumpkin? That was the new, because he had Bizarre, and then he had Discreet, which was his label, and then at this point it's Barking Pumpkin. And we're doing another double here. We have Them or Us.
Them or Us, yeah.
Kind of introducing this weird rat-looking raccoon guy. And then this is a weird one. Again, this is nothing like anything else. This is where he was going into like that whole harpsichordy synthesizer orchestral.
Yeah, the synclaver.
The synclaver, yes.
And he loved that thing. At the end of it, he stopped playing guitar and just played the synclaver.
Yeah. I love this. Yes, this is Francesco
Yeah, Francesco Zappa.
Zappa.
Yeah.
I love this. Performed by the Barking Pumpkin Digital Gratification Consort.
Do you like that album?
It's probably not really my thing, but I get it. I respect it,
Yeah. You're probably like me. Whenever I go to a record store and I see a Zappa album I don't have, I'm grabbing it. Like,
every time.
yeah. Yeah. Even if
Yeah.
I know I'm never going to play it.
And then of course, a lot of people, one of Frank's crowning achievements outside of music was his testimony in front of the PMRC.
Yeah.
During the hearings about censorship in music and what led to the eventual putting parental advisory stuff on CDs or records or whatever. But this again, just brilliant. Frank Zappa meets the mothers of prevention around this time.
I don't own that album on CD or on vinyl.
Oh yeah. And there's a big story that there's a big difference between the North American release and the European release. There's some kind of story with that. But this was one of my favorite things about Frank. He was obviously so intelligent in so many ways, but the line that will always stand out to me during those testimonies was him saying that what they were doing was the equivalent of treating dandruff by decapitation.
Yeah,
and
that's great.
It's just such a Frank thing. Yeah, I mean, and I would say too, if you have some of these Frank records and you haven't yet, always take the time to read the liner notes because there's so much funny and like Easter egg type things in them that will just make you laugh, and they're just sort of slid in there perfectly, right?
And the other thing about Frank, when he was live, he could do some great covers of songs. Like,
oh yeah,
if you've got this album, The Best Band You've Never Heard in Your Life, which is another great CD, was recorded in the 80s. He does a great version of Stairway to Heaven.
Wow.
And he took Jimmy Page's guitar solo, note for note, and wrote it for brass instruments.
Oh,
so
wow.
It's all played by brass instruments. It's just sounds amazing. I mean, just an incredible cover. Also on this one, Does Humor Belong in Music, which is another great live album. He does Whippin' Post, the Allman Brothers song.
The Whippin' Post, yep.
I mean, I think you can look up a lot of that stuff on YouTube probably. And catch it. But yeah, just I wished I would have saw him more often live. I don't know why I didn't go to shows, but to see him. But
and you mentioned too, I mean, I will say there are some estates that are doing things really, really well. And I think the Frank estate is, I mean, the amount of content and the quality of what they're cranking out from a pressing standpoint, a lot of times they're getting things pressed at Palace, or they're being, like the reissues you were talking about of Waka Jawaka and Grand Wazoo, I think were both Kevin Gray cuts or Bernie Grundman cuts. Like,
they sound fantastic.
Sound amazing. I guess this is the last.
A lot of it's owed to Joe Travers, who is called the Vault Meister.
Oh yeah,
spends all his time in Frank's vault. Besides being a great drummer, he also plays in a Zappa tribute band. He's kind of in charge of the whole thing, and now they've sold it to Universal, so Universal's releasing it all, but Joe's still very much involved in what's coming out and trying to figure out the whole thing because Frank left.
Yeah.
Who knows how many thousands of hours of recordings there. I mean, you spend a lifetime going through his vault. I don't know if you've ever seen pictures of it, but it's
my God. Yeah.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah. The only, I guess, post, sort of, archival release I ended up getting was this one, the Zappa 88, The Last US Show. Yeah. This was, I mean, it's 4 LPs, the full, box set, but
and a lot of that was promoting a lot of stuff from Joe's Garage and that on there, right? If I remember correctly, isn't there a lot of?
There's a little bit of everything on here. Yeah, I mean, this set is out of control. I mean, but they do have Stairway to Heaven and I Am the Walrus on here.
Oh, okay.
I haven't listened
to it for a long time.
Pound for a Brown Part 1, The Torture Never Stops. Yeah, there's so much good stuff
It's like
on
a hits tour.
Yeah, I mean, Inca Roads, which that's a classic, Inca
Oh,
Roads, and
love that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So just
Love the whole kind of crooner thing. And did a flying saucer land on? And then they go into this. Yeah, it's nuts.
yeah, man,
Yeah.
it's just this guy. Now I just want to go listen to Frank Zappa some more.
Yeah, you're gonna
I'm
have
like,
me like
damn,
that. Well, I'll tell you what I'm gonna do tomorrow is I'm gonna give Joe's Garage another listen. It's been so many years since I played it.
yeah.
I'm gonna try it.
Just think of me, Glenn,
Yeah, I will.
when you're
Well,
listening to Why Does It Hurt When I Pee? Just think of
during some parts, I'll think of you. Yeah, yeah. If it hurts when I pee, I'm not gonna be thinking of you.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, no. Why don't we see if anybody in the crowd has anything remotely interesting to say? We had, I think we're going downhill. We had almost 30 people here. Now we got 20. Is it something we said?
Yeah,
So
take your
let's start.
pick.
I'm always up for some FZ chat. So I married a record collector, JT and Haida Lee. Do we know this gentleman? Or
Yes,
woman?
yeah, they're great. They're always,
Awesome.
they're, yeah, I wouldn't say always here, but
I think you're new to my channel, so I really appreciate you coming over. Maybe you're an Alex fan.
Nobody's an Alex fan.
Alex Nudler. Me too. Awesome. Alex, welcome. Again, a new name for me. Cardboard Head Guy. We know that. Favorite Zappa song. Did we figure this out yet? Oh, it's so hard.
It's so hard. I would ones that come to mind immediately: Watermelon, Easter Hay, Inca Roads is pretty damn good.
Inca Roads is great. I know somebody mentioned Big Swifty. I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah, and of course, I love Willie the Pimp. So mostly,
I
just get that violin riff stuck in my head. Just yeah.
Oh my God, there's just so much. Even some of the ones like Montana. I love Montana.
Yeah.
And oh man, yeah, there's too many of them. Dupree's Paradise, Cosmic Debris, great blues song.
Yeah.
Redenzel.
Oh, Redenzel, yeah.
Man, there's just too many. Too many to name one. Too many to choose from. Well said. Difficult. Big Swifty. Yeah, that is a great one. Hello. Sorry we're so late doing this. Good evening, Glenn, Alex, and everyone. Thank you. Music Sanctuary. Always love having. Here's the big question. Favorite part of Billy the Mountain for me, it's the part Studebaker Hoge or hot. What is that? Hot? Studebaker what? I can't figure it out. See, we got fans who like the crazy stuff.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Larry will be really happy with you there, Cardboard Head Guy. Enchiladas Arf, Don't You Medley. What's that off of?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. We're not going to put ourselves off as Frank Zappa experts.
Just that's why I made the
fans, right?
Well, you'll get to the comments, but I don't know if you saw when this happens, Glenn, because people get in the comments that you have you're like, oh my gosh, like Mazzy was in here at one point, and then I'm a huge fan, not to bury the lead here, but Michael P. Dawson was in the chat, and I love Michael P. Dawson's channel, and I'm like, oh god, this guy actually is the Zappa expert. Shit.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
But he's so great. So yeah, man. Hey, Michael.
I'm trying to make my way through Mother's 1971 box. 3 hours of Billy the Mountain. That's the reason I didn't buy that box. I am a completist with Frank Zappa box sets, and I'm struggling to buy this one because it's expensive. 1970 and 1971 box sets. One's about $80, and the other one's like $150 or something. I'm not sure.
I can't do the 22 minutes of the
Warehouse series of Zappa album reviews. I haven't watched that, but I have watched our friend Richard from Calvin Wazoo. He's a huge Zappa fan, and he's done some great reviews on Zappa.
Yeah.
Hello, all. Charlie, thank you for joining. Charlie mentioned today he was going to come by. I disagree with Grant's review of Fillmore. Love that album. Yeah, see, it's not my favorite. I got to agree with Grant. Hello, everyone. Bring on the Zappa. Yes, we are trying. How many times have you seen Frank live? I've seen him 8 times. Oh, that's awesome, Doug. I only saw him once. The original Mothers in 1968. I don't know why I didn't go back and see him again. No excuse. I kind of had this thing when I was young that I would go to concerts, and once I saw somebody, I didn't want to go see them again. I wanted to spend my money on someone else.
Yeah, not everybody lives to be 100 like, Bob Dylan, so.
Yeah. I saw Zappa at his last concert before he passed. Wow. Frankfurt, Germany. He walked out on stage to a standing ovation, took a bow, and never left, never to return. He did not look well. Oh, that's so sad. What a story. He was huge in Europe. Huge. There's even a festival. What do they call that? Zappanella or something? That there's a festival
Oh,
every year of people come and just play Zappa music.
all right, let's go. Book it.
Wasn't even alive. Start with Freak Out and work through them all in chronological order. That's probably the best way to do it, but the potty humor. Studio Z. 10 days. Except tobacco for a vegetable. We're getting comments here. Caffeine and nicotine.
Yeah, this goes back to when we were talking that he didn't drink or do drugs, but
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
he smoked a lot of he was
Yeah,
big fat
that's true.
smoker,
Yeah, yeah. The Soul Giants. If Zappa was against drugs, then why does his music sound like it came from using drugs? That's,
Good question.
because he was tuned right into it, the whole scene. I mean, even to the point, I love that comment, and I think it's on the Absolutely Free album, but I could be wrong, where he goes, "My hair looks really good in the back."
Yeah.
I love that because I remember that as a teenager, we'd have long hair, and that was our thing, right? Like
Yeah.
you didn't have, the hair was your whole image. And he
Well,
goes, "My hair looks really good in the back today."
and the reality too with the whole drug thing and drinking too, of he was a perfectionist and wanted, obviously he expected perfect from him and his band, and you could not be high and or tipsy and be able to play what they were playing.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was the whiskey. Verve, imagine the label MGM Verve. Yeah, Frank said Tom Wilson was taking notes. That's hilarious. This will take months. Yes, thanks, Mazzy. It could. First album I bought was Mother Mania. I don't have that album now, but I did have it. And I remember having that on vinyl and going to my aunt and uncle's house. I think I might have got it asked my parents to get it for Christmas. And I think I was at my aunt and uncle's house for Christmas, and we opened our gifts there. And that album was in my gifts, and I played it on their stereo, and all the adults were sitting there. Oh my God, they were freaking out.
yeah,
Oh, that's nice.
that was cool. Yeah.
I want to get that album. I need to get that in my collection because it brings back a lot of memories for me. When FZ met Grand Funk before producing them, one of the band members backed another into a corner and farted on him. Frank said, "I guess a band that farts on each other can't be all bad." My favorite Frank story is with David Bowie when Frank had Adrian Belew in his band.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Came to see them, and Bowie takes, without going to Frank and saying, "Hey, is there any chance I could get Belew to go on tour with me?" He just went straight to Adrian Belew and said, "Hey, I'll give you this much money and leave Frank and come and play with me." And Adrian left. I guess the money was too good to pass up. And Frank was absolutely pissed. And then they were at some kind of event where David Bowie was there and Frank was there. And David Bowie walked over to Frank's table or wherever he was and said, "Hi, Frank." And Frank says, "Fuck off, Captain Tom."
Captain Tom.
Susie Cream Cheese, what's gotten into you, baby?
That's right.
I think you get to your next. Freak Out is incredible. Bob recently talked about how much he loves that record. Oh, that's cool. What sometimes gets ignored is that this was first and last record with Elliot Ingbar. Oh, okay. Yeah. And also, what's this guy? The guy who was in Canned Heat too. Henry Vesper or something. He was a member. You talk about the people who were in that band. So he left because he wanted to do more blues stuff, and he ended up starting Canned Heat. Little George from Little Feat, and actually took the name because I guess Little George had little feet, and they used to tease him because he had little feet.
Great
and
band name.
Playing with Zappa, and he left and named the band Little Feat.
Wow.
And like you said, Steve Vai. I mean,
Yeah.
George Duke had a great career.
Terry Bozzio. Yeah,
Terry
I mean,
Bozzio, Ainsley Dunbar,
oh, Ansley Dunbar. Yeah. I
uh,
mean, Glenn, how are you gonna somebody in
John
his
Fonte.
yeah, I mean, think about that, Glenn, because I know one of your favorite bands of all time is Journey, but Ansley Dunbar was drumming in Journey early on. So,
I didn't know that.
well, yeah, during their fusion days, so he was
Oh,
on
really?
like the first
Oh,
two or
see, he
three.
left when they sucked. He knew better. I have a few Ainsley Dunbar blues albums. The Retaliation, they're actually pretty good
Oh
albums.
wow, yeah, I've heard. Okay, yeah,
Yeah, and yeah, John Luke Ponte, who actually ended up making an album, a whole album where he plays Frank Zappa songs called,
oh, man.
I think it's called King Kong, the music of Frank Zappa. It's a really good record. I'm a huge Zapp fan, and I even struggle with Uncle Meat. Yeah, there's some, man. No matter how big a fan you are, there's gonna be some you struggle with. It's just too varied a catalog, and you know, Karuta Bai Karuta Bai. I hope I pronounced that right. Paul Kantner did drugs, so I didn't have to. My friend Mike talking about after bathing. That's awesome. I bought the first two Mothers of Inventions on the same day I was listening to After Bathing at Baxter's at the same time. Yeah, it was the times we lived in. Absolutely Free is brilliant. Yeah, I agree. Still one of my favorite Zappa albums. Hello, I make sure to keep my comments serious for this very important Zappa conversation. Thanks, John. And of course, I sent you an email today inviting you to do one of these with me. Of course, you never responded, so I guess you're not interested. We'll move on. Absolutely Free, freak out, in my opinion. Yeah. My brother was a hippie in the 60s, so I grew up hearing Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention. Cool. Varese, that was the classical composer I was trying to think of
Yes,
his name, and I forgot, who does all this wacky stuff. I'd love to get a couple of his albums. Lumpy Gravy is supposed to be released on Capitol. I didn't know
yeah.
that.
There's a whole story about that release, and yeah,
Edgar Varese, yeah. Frank even communicated back and forth with Edgar. I think they were trying to meet up at some point, but it never happened. Don't forget Captain Beefheart. No, we can't. Hey, Roy. I love Ruben and the Jets. Yeah, it's a very cool record. Wait a sec. Don't forget Money. Cruising is doo-wop and oldies but goodies. I love it. I have the soundtrack for the Zappa documentary. Listening to the progression of his career is amazing, except for Valley Girl. That's actually, it's a good, have you ever watched the documentary?
oh yeah,
It's
yeah,
really good, but I think it's better for a novice to watch it and get an understanding of Frank, that if you're a real true fan, you're going, I want more.
yeah,
If you felt that way when I'm watching, I'm going, this isn't enough.
yeah.
It should be like 8 more hours long.
Yeah, get us the Get Back version, right?
Yeah. Favorite 60s Zappa and the Mother's album. Mine is We're Only in It for the Money. I love its hippie satire. Great album. Yeah. I mean, 60s. Well, Hot Rats came out in 69, I think, right?
Yeah, but but is that the
But
Mothers? Yeah,
looking back, oh, yeah. Yeah, that's true. So, yeah, Absolutely Free, Freak Out, and then We're Only in It for the Money would be the way I would rank them.
yeah,
But
yeah. I'm trying to think. Was Weasel during '69?
no,
So
I thought that came out around.
70. Dang, just
Yeah.
missed it. So many at the Weasels, but no, I'd probably go Absolutely Free.
Let's Make the Water Turn Black. What a cool song. Absolutely. Paul said our lawyers should talk, and Frank wondered why the artists aren't making this decision. Ah, okay. Thank you. Burnt Weenie. Yes. Bobby Brown, big in Europe. Yeah, they were quick to jump on the stereotype. LOL. And then there is Jewish Princess and then Catholic Girls. Yeah. Always liked Zoot Allures. Yeah, me too. That's a real favorite album of mine.
It's great.
Fillmore album is great. Just another band, not so much. Yeah, see, they're just not the Flo and Eddie thing just doesn't do it for me. I like Greasy Gibson SG heavy sound of the 70, 71. Yeah, I agree. The music is freaking incredible in that era, which just kind of bugs me that it's not that I mind like listening to it once or twice, but then I go, I can't listen to Billy the Mountain like 18 times. Like,
or once.
yeah, I really like Phil Maurice, but struggle with Just Another Band. Okay. Frank reissued it on Phil Maurice reissue. I must have. Mother's 71 box. Yeah, I wish I could get it. Larry Graves has it. I'd like to steal it from him, but I really like the LA album. Each record funded the other. That's right. That's another good thing to mention about Frank is he used his money that he would make on tours and whatever he made from records to finance his passion for composing music. He didn't. It wasn't like it went in the bank so he could have $10 million in the bank. That wasn't his thing.
Right.
He wanted the money so he could continue his life's work, which is pretty amazing. And a lot of times the bands back in the 80s, when he started to downsize or get rid of people and stuff like that, he just couldn't afford to keep them. I started with Apostrophe and Overnight Sensation. They're great starting points. If you can listen to those albums and you don't like Zappa, I'd say move on. Like, what else you would like, unless you're a crazy jazz guy or something and you want to try something. But if you're a novice and in those two albums, you don't hear anything in them that interests you, I think you're done. Overnight Sensation, yeah. Absolute favorites. One Size Fits All is a great album. I prefer Bongo Fury over Zoot Allures too. If you asked me when they came out, whether that would have been the case, I would have said no, but now.
Damn it, Glenn, this whole stream is going to, part 2 of this is us doing a ranking.
Bongo is my favorite, my number 2. Yeah, it's a great album. Those live albums are very good. Yeah, they are. It's just some, you got to get a CD player and get some of this stuff. You're missing out. Cheapness, great song. Punky's Whips is very funny. The full Zappa New York is great too. Absolutely. Let's not forget his guitar albums. Yes, we didn't. CD version trumps the OG on Zappa New York, maybe? Will George did well after leaving the Mother's Little Feet. He certainly did. The vinyl leaves out Punkies and a few other tracks. That is one of the... What's a GTOS? Greatest... Oh, one of the GTOs. The girls that... Miss Christine.
Okay.
Hot Rats, classic, yeah. Always thought the girl on the cover of Hot Rats was Susie Cream Cheese. Maybe I forget the name of the woman who actually played Susie Cream Cheese. She does have a name. Casino Fire. Yeah, Montreal Casino. That was it. Thank you. Yeah, the Rainbow. That was one of the last concert was 15 feet fall into hard rubber. Ouch. 200 Motels disappointed me a little as the music on the record is not the music you hear in the film. I've listened to most of those albums you're showing, as had a friend who got all of his albums at the time. Masterpiece. I'm not sure which one.
Could have been any of them.
Yes. Napoleon's vocals on Advanced Romance. Trivia. The cover photo is reversed.
Yeah, I saw that was Bongo Fury, I think he was talking about.
Oh. Damn
it, no, I've misplaced everything.
I love Act 1 and Act 2, and Act 1 a lot, 2 and 3 not as much. But you're the exact opposite, right? Don't you like 2 and 3 better?
I like them all. I just think they're separated. Where Act 1 is more the comedy, funny stuff, and Act 2 is a little bit more of the complex arrangements and that type of stuff. But I love them both.
Act 1 is awesome and so fun. Acts 2 and 3 leave me a little cold, except for Watermelon and Easter. Hey, hilarious to me that he put his most beautiful guitar piece at the end of that insane album.
It is a beautiful. It really is. I mean, that is like as emotional as you can get listening to Frank.
He wanted you to listen through. Yeah. That's a great instrumental. Love it. My favorite guitar piece ever. Frank said nobody gives a about the musicians. or John Mayall. No one gives a hell about the musicians or John Mayall. I like John Mayall. I give a hell. I'm late, but I'm here. Teach me. Ah, if you're going to be late for class, you can go report to the principal's office, Jason, and come back. Bring a note. The vinyl release does not include the concerts. That's for, I'm missing something.
Overnight Sensation, maybe?
Scott Tunes, that's the bass player who kind of took over he was kind of the leader of the band. And I think everybody hated him from what I've read. James has the big notebook. Anywhere to read that book for free? I don't know. The library. Wow. It must have been something I said.
Was it something I said?
The album's in alphabetical order, not chronological. Yeah. So actually, this book, that's the way this gentleman did the book. Like it starts at absolutely free and then works all everything's alphabetical rather than.
It's probably easier to follow that way.
Yeah. So you can look things up easier. The first Zappa book I bought, Zappa by Dominique Chevalier. I don't think I have that one. What the heck's going on here? Where'd my books go? I try and get every book I can find on Zappa. And of course, he's got his own biography too. He wrote an autobiography, The Real Frank Zappa Book, which is Frank pontificating about everything. It's kind of a cool book.
Oh, yeah.
Another book that you could just pick up and read certain pages if you're not a reader. They would not release Lather. Okay, so that's the way it was. I couldn't remember if it was. So then he released them all individually. Okay. Thanks, Alex. Instead, releasing those 4 without Frank's permission. Okay, that's what happened. Okay. One of the greatest pleasures in life is reading a good book. I agree with you, Roy, especially music biographies. There are a lot of Zappa bootlegs out, live in the studio. How many do you have? I don't have any unauthorized boots. I got one, I think. And it sounds like crap. It's a CD. But that was the other thing that Frank did because he hated the bootlegging that was going on. And he released the Beat the Boots box sets where he would take the most popular bootlegged albums and he would put them out in a box set. And I was in a record store in the 90s, walking down Yonge Street in Toronto. It was closing down, and they had the Beat the Boots box set with the 11, I think it was like 11 albums in it. And you opened it up, and there was a cutout that a stage they opened with the Frank band thing, and it came with a T-shirt and buttons and the whole bit. I paid $60 for it.
In the 90s?
In the 90s. And I sold it on eBay. I foolishly sold it because I was trying to make money on stuff. I sold it to a guy in Argentina on eBay when eBay first started. eBay was just in its infancy. I sold it for $350 US. The guy sent me the cash in the mail before I entrusted me to mail the parcel out to him.
Wow.
Times have changed.
I guess so.
And I gladly sent him the record. I made a ton of money off it. But now I wish I had it. FVA, how are you? Oh, Michael P. Dawson. Wow. I didn't know that's all. It's only the sampler and number 2 came out on vinyl. Number 2 you should get, Alex.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look for that.
Helsinki concert. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
6 volumes on CD. Oh, no, just the one sample on vinyl. So he's saying 2 didn't come out on vinyl. We have to check in this. Bootleg titles, 1 standing room only, ARF 2, A Drowning Witch 3, Streaming Juke. Thingfish was 84. Yes, it was a 3 LP box. Oh, there we go. I got all 6 volumes. You can't do it on stage anymore, apart from places where the banter goes on too long. They are great. Yeah, I agree. For the most part, they're good. 80% good. Valley Girl was a horrible song that ran way too long.
Oh, my God.
Billy the Pimp, of course. Great song.
Oh, my God. Music Talk with John. Oh, my God.
Piano Music Section 3. It's on the Roxy and elsewhere. What do you think of Civilian? Oh, that was another one I had a really hard time with. I bought the CD set of that, and I ended up selling it. I couldn't do it. It's
I'm
too much
not familiar with
talk.
that.
It's all talk. It's weird. I don't know. It's like a conversation. You record a conversation with people and then had music. It's unlistenable to me. But in answer to the question, cheers. 3 times live for me. Oh, that's cool. Sap and Alley. That's the festival.
The
That's what it's
festival.
called.
Yeah.
I'm glad these people correct us when we don't know what the hell we're talking
Well,
about. There's
I've loved this. I've learned so much from
yeah,
comments.
me too. It's
Yeah.
nice. Thank you guys so much for that. I will get crabs and take the bus back home. Jim Fielder and Absolutely Free went on to Blood, Sweat, and Tears. I did not know that.
Oh, wow.
Hey, Glenn. Hey, Rob. I will check my email. Currently fighting a cold. I only got into Zappa and the Mothers a few years ago because of Flo and Eddie years, because I was a fan of the Turtles, Flo and Eddie. Interesting gateway. Steve Perry and Ainsley did not get along, so their manager decided that Steve was the keeper and sacked Ainsley to their demise. Yeah, because I'm much more of an Ainsley Dunbar fan than I am a Steve Perry, I'll tell you that.
And then Steve Perry went on to make billions and
Yeah,
billions.
yeah. Did you guys see a skit in the early 60s talk show with Frank Zappa playing a bicycle on the Steve Allen show? That was kind of his first time on TV before he was known. And then, of course, he had a relationship with the Monkees. He was on
wow.
the Monkey Show, and then he was in Head. Right?
Yeah.
The Zap 88 band broke up due to several other guys, not Scott Thunes. They would not cooperate with Scott's teaching method approved by Frank. Yeah. Frank referred to the boycott bunch as guys with hair up there. Had to drop in and out, but thank you so much for doing this. Love the new series. Oh, thanks, Shane. That was awesome. I got caught up.
Not bad.
Okay. Best band you never heard is amazing. I agree. One of my favorite.
That was that covers type album, or
yeah, there's some covers on it, and yeah, what they do with it. I can't find it now. You have no idea what my room looks like right now.
My collection all over the place now. It's a mess over here, man.
I'm a mess. Best band, I found it. Yeah, so what happened was that day, according to the live recording, Frank Zappa was staying in the same hotel as Johnny Cash and June Carter Cash.
Oh, wow.
And Johnny was going to come down and be part of the show that night.
Yeah.
And I think June got sick and Johnny couldn't go. So they kind of kept the whole thing as a running thing on, like they do a version of Ring of Fire on here. And yeah, it's cool. There's some good, but they do a cover of Purple Haze on here, Sunshine of Your Love, When Irish Eyes Are Smiling, the Godfather theme, the theme from Bonanza, and Stairway to Heaven. It's pretty interesting.
Wow.
And it's a great band. If you think Frank didn't get pushed, he would continue with. Do you think? No, I don't think so. I think actually, you know what? There's a quote from Mark Volman. I don't know was Mark Flo or Eddie? I don't know which one. But anyway, he said working with Frank isn't like working with any other group. It's all very temporary. This isn't the final mothers Frank will have. Like you kind of knew that when you were involved.
Yeah.
When he wanted to move on, he moved on.
It was a spring fling. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. John made it clear that he never wanted to get up on stage with Frank. John Lennon or so we told Johnny Cash. Okay. John made it clear he never wanted to get up on stage with Frank. Well, I would imagine their politics were probably pretty different. He told him his wife got sick. That's funny.
It would have been fun to see that, though.
Mark Vollmer was Flo and Howard was Eddie, but then again, they switched characters around sometimes. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
They're great singers and everything. I mean, they're amazing talents, but I just kind of got sick of the humor a little bit.
Yeah.
Musically, it was outstanding band. Wow. Okay, can you rank your top 5 favorite Zappa albums?
Oh
Off the
gosh.
top of your head, or is that too hard?
That's very hard, but I would probably go in no particular order. Hot Rats. Because I also want to be, well, I'm sitting here, I don't know why I'm, stressing over this. It's
I'll
fine.
even let you go 7 if you want.
No, like 7. Well, it's like I want to be, because I love the fusiony stuff is my favorite, but so I would go Hot Rats, Waka Jawaka, probably apostrophe, no. I would do One Size Fits All and Overnight Sensation. And then I think just because it means so much, Joe's Garage. And that's a very broad way, but I mean,
I know, because after you get off, you'd be going, "No, I should have said this. I should have said that."
Yeah, but
Yeah, I got to go Hot Rats, number 1.
Yeah.
Number 2 is probably Apostrophe.
Yeah.
Number 3, oh man, I'll tell you, I almost put them together as 3A and 3B, but Waka Wazoo and
Yep.
the Grand Wazoo and Waka Jawaka are 2 just
Yeah.
they'd be in the top 5. Bongo Fury would be up there. I love Burnt Weenie Sandwich.
Burnt Weenie's good.
Yeah. I love their version of White Port and Lemon Juice.
Yeah.
That's just so catchy. And Absolutely Free is always going to be a top one for me. I mean, just insane.
And you didn't even mention Bongo Fury. And earlier you said that was a top 5.
I did mention Bongo Fury.
Oh, maybe I wasn't listening.
Yeah, you got to pay attention.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
We're moving fast. The other live thing that's come out in the last couple of years that's really good too is Zappa Erie.
Oh.
And I don't know if this is on vinyl or not, but it's performances from 1974 up to 1976, anytime he played in the Erie, Pennsylvania area.
Oh, wow.
And it's great, man. The band's awesome. It's a great.
How many
set.
CDs is that?
Big hardcover set. There's 6 CDs.
I gotta get a CD player, man.
You do have to, as a Zappa fan, you need to get a CD player.
Yes. Because buying something like that on vinyl would be $500,
Yeah, you're missing too much great stuff that they're just releasing on CD, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I don't know how they released the 50th anniversary of Overnight Sensation. They just released the album itself and none of the live stuff, or
it might be, yeah,
or even some, because the outtakes and alternate tracks are incredible.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's one of those artists that the alternate stuff and the outtakes are just as good. Yeah,
and it also comes with a Blu-ray and like a 5.1 thing for people who are into that stuff. I'm just a stereo guy, so I don't know.
Yeah,
another one that came out recently is Funky Nothingness.
I still gotta get that, man.
Yeah, it's awesome too. It's great. The first album is almost like a blues album, because this is a really scaled down band. It's Ainsley Dunbar,
mm-hmm.
Frank Zappa, Sugarcane Harris playing blues violin. I mean, the guy's freaking amazing musician.
And he's the violin on Willie the Pimp.
Yeah, Ian Underwood, Max Bennett on bass, and Ainsley Dunbar on drums. That's it. Just a 5-piece band. Frank, and just incredible stuff. They do some blues jams on here. They do a Muddy Waters track on here. Yeah, it's freaking awesome. Yeah, you should grab this.
Yeah,
it's on vinyl, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I'm just I've been waiting for it to come down in price, and I'm tired of waiting. So.
Oh yeah. And of course, the Live in New York came out in a cardboard box, and you opened it up, and it was a sewer manhole, like a sewer cover.
Oh yeah.
You open up, and it's 1, 2, 3, 5 disc set too of all the performances from the Live in New York stuff. It's amazing. The Halloween 73 set, 4 CDs. Yeah, there's just a wealth of stuff. I mean, incredible. I think I missed some stuff here.
I think the question from
Cash, Mike Fulmer. Interesting question. What do you think Frank would be doing if he was still alive? I don't know. He seemed to stop playing guitar, and he was really into that synclaver. So whether he would just have done some wacky electronic stuff,
I think he would be heavily leaning into technology. But yeah. But he'd be doing something, right? He would be doing something well above our pay grades.
I'll tell you, I think he would have done run for president.
He would have a lot to say, I'm sure.
I'll bet he would have. Because if you listen to the political comments he made back in the 70s and 80s, a lot of them ring true to. It's almost like he had a crystal ball.
I don't think he would have been interested.
Yeah? He would be computerizing music in something like G-Spot, Tornado, number 100 by now, Cardboard Head. When I saw Frank in 75, I saw both shows at 1, at 8, doing strictly instrumentals, Progress, and 10. He did old classical like Who Are the Brain Police. Oh, wow, that would have been very cool. Although I'll tell you, 1975 Glenn, I was 22 years old. I don't know if my brain was developed yet into too much into. I didn't really start to think of jazz as actually interesting, good music until probably about 1979 or 80.
Yeah.
And then started to say, hey, there's something to this. But before that, it was like, this sounds like a bunch of guys who don't know how to tune their instruments. So that's another one I don't have is Yellow Shark.
Yeah, me either.
Do you find guys like with high-pitched Pachuca, Cali, wailing annoying or funny? I don't find it annoying.
Yeah, I don't find it as annoying as Flo and Eddie doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my favorite Zappa songs is Dog Breath and Dog Breath Variations. Yeah. Wow, Billy the Mountain. Everybody loves Billy the Mountain, except me. And what did he have growing out of his neck? What was it? A cow or something? I can't remember.
I'm sure Larry will tell us.
Funky Nothingness was recorded right after Hot Rats. Yeah, exactly. Those Halloween sets are to be consumed in smaller doses. The problem with the Halloween sets is they're really expensive, but they should just give you the music. Like, no one wants a Frank Zappa Halloween mask and a pair of stupid rubber gloves. But that's the only way you can buy the set. Yeah. James, I am absolutely 100% agreeing with you. That Roxy Performance box set is fantastic. Oh, Larry's here. Larry, did you get a shot yet, or is that tomorrow? Because Larry's up past his bedtime.
That's late.
Larry, what's growing out of Billy the Mountain's neck or whatever it was? What was it?
It was his wife Ethel.
His wife, yeah. Larry. Alex. His wife Ethel the tree. Yeah, that's what it was. That's pretty crazy. And of course, the Adventures of Gregory Peccary. Another one that went on for like a whole side of a record.
Yep.
Yeah, Ethel the tree. Really, the Mountain. It was funny. Like it's just. I remember seeing Oscar Peterson, Modern Jazz Quartet, and Buddy Rich when I was 16 years old. Wow. See, I would not have appreciated that at 16. I probably would have walked out going, "What? These guys don't know how to play." And now I would crawl on broken glass to see those shows.
Oh my gosh, yeah, those guys.
Billy the Mountain is great. I know, Larry. I know. Oh, tomorrow he gets his shot. Ethel, a tree growing off his shoulder. Yeah. That was hilarious. Wow. Well, it's pretty good. We almost did 2 hours, Alex.
Not bad. And we only got through the first couple of records too. So
yeah, I don't know if you got anything else you want to say or show or.
said before, I'll reiterate, like some of I said in the beginning, like I'm not an expert. So while it was cool showing and talking about some of these things, I just grateful for you and everybody in the comments. Like I learned a lot too, especially just about, where things come from, who was on what band, why things were the way they were, all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
no, this was really great, Glenn. I really
It
appreciate it.
was.
And
It
thanks
was
to the
awesome. Yeah,
commenters.
yeah. We're teaching each other as we go along because there's just so much. I mean, it's if you had to rank the most overwhelming artists to get into, Frank could arguably be number one.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah.
maybe Miles Davis is up there too. But like if you were just kind of just going, somebody said, I want to get into Frank Zappa. How do I do it? Like I would hate to be that guy who had to start doing that.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
And as much as we showed, we only own like half of the discographies.
Yeah.
That's what's
Yeah. 127 releases total. And I think I got around 70 of them.
well, some
And
fan.
I can't believe I'm just a casual fan. And I feel like I got a huge collection and I'm not even there. It's amazing. And his records aren't like the only ones you find cheap are old copies of Apostrophe, Zoot Lures, and maybe Overnight Sensation. And maybe Joe's Garage and Shake Your Booty. There'd be like 5 of them that are you see staples. They're the staples that you see in used record bins.
Yeah.
But man, you don't see like Zappa in New York very often used, or
Yeah. And when you do, they're expensive. I mean, they're
they're
expensive. A lot of
expensive.
these are, yeah,
Yeah,
they're
like I would love to get
collectibles
more of his stuff
essentially.
on vinyl. I'm always looking. It's one of the first. Do you have when you go to a record store, used record store? Are there certain artists you go direct? That's the first bin I look in is for this guy.
Well,
It's kind of getting off topic, but
no, but we're in the after show phase, almost the after
yeah.
show phase. No, I mean the first is always the new used arrivals and
Oh
flip
yeah,
through all
yeah,
those.
for sure.
But then it comes down to the holes, right? So if there's still that one record I need from that one band I will go straight to those handful of sections.
Yeah,
Um, that's usually how it works. Um, but it's so funny. Every time I go into a place, I'm not thinking of something, but I will come across something. I'm like, oh dang, like that'd be great. I need
yeah.
that.
Zappa's one of the first bins I'll go to see what's there.
Yeah.
Like I have so many holes on vinyl. I guess that's why. And again, you're looking for something you can pick up for $20 or something, and
Yep.
that's
Well,
far
and
and
I'm
few between.
I'm bummed because I did one of those things where I waited too long. There was one of the more, well, I wouldn't say popular, but one of the records I don't have from the 80s is Man from Utopia. And I don't see that out a lot. And it was sitting in a bin here at one of my local stores for about, I think it was maybe $15. I was just saying, I'll grab it next time. I'll grab it next time. I'll grab it next time. And then I went this past weekend to prepare for the show. And of course, it's not there.
Oh,
So I was
yeah,
like, whatever. I'll see it next
yeah.
time.
And you're kicking yourself.
Um,
Oh,
but
man.
yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Hot rats on one size are gateway drugs. I won't argue with you, but
Yeah.
like I said, but hot rats, if you're a rock guy and you're not into any kind of fusion stuff, I think that would be a hard listen. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. But, it's not, yes. And it's also, it's not like listening to Bitches Brew or,
No, no,
something
it's not
like
that
that. You know what
crazy.
I mean? Like, I think it's still, yeah, I think gateway is a good way to put it because I could totally see someone coming in from like that rock, someone hearing Willie the Pimp
Yeah,
and be like, oh, I can get into this. And
yeah,
then maybe after Hot Rats, they're going, you know what? Maybe I could do like the jazz fusion thing.
yeah.
It's like listening to it and not even knowing that you like that kind of stuff.
The store where the creatures meet. I wonder what they do in there. Apostrophe too. Yeah, apostrophe's definitely. Alex, we love you on the Prog Corner.
Oh, thanks, Alex. I appreciate it. It's been really amazing joining that esteemed panel over the past month or so. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, you're in good company there.
I will say though, Glenn, you got a mention live on from Scott Lade over there at the Prog Corner on
Did
Sunday.
I?
So yeah,
Oh,
because when we're introducing ourselves, we say, here's what's kind of coming up this week. And so I mentioned that I was doing a Zappa thing on your show, and
yeah,
Scott said, he goes, man, that's a guy I got to get on here. Is Glenn
Yeah.
Calloway from the Basement. So
I love Scott. He's great.
he's been really great.
You know, we met up right when he was first starting his channel, and he used to come on with Larry and I, and he was awesome. I just
Yeah,
I
and
just
he,
think I'm so happy for him. His success on his channel is just he's great.
and I'm sure you watched his Steve Hackett interview. Yeah,
I loved it.
yeah.
I learned a lot too. I
Oh,
did
he knows
not
his stuff,
like
man. Whew.
Steve Hackett is becoming like I'm getting obsessed with Steve Hackett. Like just like his new album comes out Friday.
It's Friday, yeah.
I'm ready for it. It's being delivered on Friday. I I'm trying to pick up other stuff from him. And Steve Hackett mentioned that he has 30 albums.
Good luck, right?
I didn't have any idea. I think I got 5 of them, and I figured I probably got half his catalog. I'm not even touching the surface.
Really prolific, yeah. And there are some stinkers, I think, but still.
Well, still, but I'm
Yeah.
almost if I can, I'm looking all over to find Steve Hackett stuff now. And
Yeah.
it's funny because there was a time when I wasn't really. I'd see a Steve Hackett album in the used bins, and I'd go, okay, Steve Hackett album. I don't know that one. I won't buy it. And then I go back on. Now I'm kind of obsessed with them. I'm going back to the same stores, and they're all gone. I'm going like I should just grab them when they were cheap. And
did you order the new one on vinyl or CD?
yeah, vinyl. Because it was the same price as the CD.
Yeah, it was like 20 or 25 bucks. It's fairly,
I think $30 for it, and
Okay,
the CD's 31. But it comes with a Blu-ray. I guess that's why it's expensive. But
yeah,
I would like to get the CD because then I can put it on a USB stick and take it in my car. But so I probably will buy it eventually. But
yeah.
I'll just go with the album at first. Favorite Zappa album cover? That's a great question. Wow, I like that.
Well, my immediate thought is Hot Rats, but I feel like we've mentioned that too much.
Well, no, I wish I was showing vinyl because the album covers look better. But
you know, it's stupid. It's stupid, but this gets me every time.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool album cover.
Yeah.
I think I got to go with Grand Wazoo.
Oh yeah,
That's a great cover. Great cartoonish cover, and leave it on the back. The Freak Out album covers are just classic.
Yeah, God, yeah.
You know,
and you know, I know we've talked about how we're not the biggest fans of this, but I do love this album cover of another band from LA.
Yeah,
well, just the cartoony sort of.
Yeah, there's so many. He's got he very cool with the album covers.
I've always loved this little guy from Sleep Dirt too. You know.
Yeah. A rock band would probably like Peaches and Regalia. Yeah, that's a great tune. What a great opening track.
Yeah.
There's a good Hot Rats outtake called Little Canton Shuffle.
Ooh.
I wonder if it's on the sessions. I don't see it on here. No, it is on here. Just 5. Little Canton Shuffle. This set is so overwhelming. I'll pull that disc out and play that because that's the on the album where it's the 1987 digital remix. So, interesting.
Yeah.
We should really rank Zappa's album covers. That's an episode in itself. Yeah, that would be. Overnight Sensation. Yeah, great cover. Frank Zappa said his favorite group is Gentle Giant. Really?
Wow.
I never heard that, but I like Gentle Giant. Grandma's he beat you by 5 seconds, Glenn. Giant is Zappa level. Yeah, Gentle Giant's a great band.
And now Glenn, I would say, Gentle. Oh yeah, huge.
Yeah.
I think one of the. Well, I mean, they didn't have a huge catalog, but I have all their stuff. So
I got their debut album. I think that's the only thing I have.
Yeah.
You can see Frank Zappa Broken Leg on the LA album.
Oh.
Is it on there?
Okay. He's on the other side there.
Oh, okay.
You got the cast coming out. I was like, looking at him, I was like, what? But his foot's hanging out the other side. Brilliant cardboard.
Design covers and Man from Utopia. It's such a groovy apartment you've got here. Alan Holdsworth too. Yes.
Oh man. Well, and I would say, Glenn, I can't. This has become like a almost like a Mazzy thing. How he has to call out the Beatles connections with everything. I as you and probably maybe some people in the chat know, what a huge fan of Dream Theater I am, and a lot of where I went musically was based on specifically Mike Portnoy, who was the original drummer and is now back as the drummer, was all based on his musical knowledge and connections. I mean, the guy is a complete encyclopedia of everything. But Zappa is one of his heroes, and in fact, in 2008 or nine, they were putting together a tour, and Mike handpicked who he wanted for the tours, and he was good friends or knew Dweezil well, so they picked Zappa Plays Zappa. So, which apparently doesn't exist anymore. Apparently, I heard there was some kind of a state issue with, or family thing
that Dweezil can't play his dad's music anymore.
I just don't think he can't call it Zappa Plays Zappa or something.
Okay.
I have to go in that, but but I will say one of the coolest videos is that while they were touring, I think it might have been in Europe, and it was Frank Zappa's birthday, and so Mike Portnoy, drummer for this progressive metal band, comes out and plays and sings "Bobby Brown Goes Down" on Zappa's birthday with Dweezil Plays Zappa, and specifically, there's a song for the nerds out there on my favorite album of all time, Metropolis Part 2, Scenes from a Memory. There's a song on there called Beyond This Life, and there's this big instrumental break in the beginning, and there's a whole sort of passage that he essentially composed with the keyboard player and called it was like a Zappa tribute bit. So
wow.
Instead of having like Ruth Underwood, obviously, it's a synthesizer that's sort of playing those very type tones or whatever. And so I always have to, there's a connection to everything there, but I always listen to that now and say, wow, like literally in the middle of this song, he was like, let's do a Zappa bit. Like, this is a tribute to Zappa. And going back and hearing it now, like, oh, that's just so cool. And so that leads to a lot of these different things. So
I had tickets. I've never seen Dweezil live. I had tickets to see him when COVID broke out and he had to cancel. I still have the ticket.
Oh,
sitting on my fridge.
Yeah. I heard they were great. Like, I heard amazing.
Yeah, I did too. I was really disappointed. I never got to see him, but I saw him do a thing. I think he released it on his Instagram page, and he was apologizing for not touring anymore and said he can't afford to. He said the price of touring now, with insurance, costs of getting a tour bus and all that he would lose his shirt. And so he just can't do it.
Wow.
Which is really a shame.
Really? Yeah. I mean, if there's, unfortunately, he's going to be marketed as, it's marketed as a cover band or a tribute band.
Yeah.
And you can get away with that if you're, a Journey tribute band or a Van Halen tribute band or Pink Floyd. Mm-hmm. But is that, what I mean? Like, outside of us and the 20 people watching, I don't know who wants to sell out, to play a Frank Zappa tribute band. I mean, I know it's more than that, but that's how it's going to be marketed, right?
I wish someone would come around and do it. I'd love this to that. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
I always thought Dream Theater was a poor man's Transatlantic. What album did you mention that you said is like your favorite album?
My favorite album of all time is a Dream Theater record called Metropolis Part 2, Scenes from a Memory. It came out in 1999.
Well, I like that album.
I don't know.
Metropolis Part 2.
I would say it's pretty heavier based on what you're listening to. No like growl vocals or nothing like that, but
well, I'll check it out on Spotify and see if it's got to be good. If you like it, it's got to be good.
Yeah, maybe I'll do a Billy Strings thing. I'll send you a few videos of, hey, check this out. Spot check this first. So,
yeah.
But the joke is with what Alex is saying is that Transatlantic was a side project that Mike Portnoy started in the heat of Dream Theater. So the other three members of Transatlantic are Neil Morris from Spock's Beard. Don't know if Spock's Beard ever made the cut in your album exchange stuff, but I know that.
But I'm interested in hearing them.
Yeah. So Neil Morse from Spock's Beard, Roy Stolt from the Flower Kings, which was another 90s. They're still
Yeah,
around.
I like the Flower Kings.
And then Pete Ruavas from Marillion. So that
Yeah.
was
Oh, wow.
the four piece.
Interesting.
Great band. In fact, Glenn, if you know my famous story about visiting my friend in Chicago and going to the concert where
Mhm.
he puked all over the floor, that was transatlantic. So
Oh, really? Interesting.
yeah.
Very nice. Wow. I got a shock today. So, this year's 100th anniversary of Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue, whatever that means. It doesn't mean a thing to me other
Okay.
than one of my musical gods, Bela Fleck, did his version of it and did an album. I mean, he played some of it on that interview he did
Yeah.
with Rick Vito, right?
Yep.
So the album came out today, or released today in the States. Um, I went on Amazon and the CD is available for Friday. So I
Mm-hmm.
pre-ordered the CD. I looked at the vinyl. The vinyl says not to be delivered, not available till July 5th. It's February.
Yeah.
I went on Amazon.com, same thing. So not just Canada. Then I went on Bela's website. $30, blue vinyl. I go to order it. So $30 US to me is another what, $12 probably that, $42 Canadian.
Yep.
Then the cheapest shipping was $29, almost
Yeah.
$30. So add another 30. So that album would cost me, by the time it got up here, I'd be close to $100 for a record. But I
Gosh.
could get it right away, and they're even shipping it out now, so people have it on the like they're shipping it out today.
Wow.
But I can't do that. I can't buy that record for $100. And I'm seeing Bailey in April,
Oh,
and I'm hoping he's going to have it
you
with
might
him,
have it. Yeah.
even though he's not touring. He's touring with his wife. They do a whole different shtick. So, but I'm not sure if he'll have merch with him.
Oh yeah. I'm sure.
But
Well, a
I'm
lot of
sure
times too with the
get
live stuff, you
to
can
talk to him hopefully and say, Bela, what are you doing?
yeah, sometimes on when you see them live, sometimes they'll have like their vinyl signed, or they'll have
Yeah,
cooler stuff there. Oh,
yeah.
Glenn, I remember seeing Stickmen featuring Tony Levin in 10 Days.
Oh, I drive down and go to that with you. I tell you,
Yeah,
if I had the
I've
money.
never heard the Stickmen before, but I know it's
Oh yeah,
like
I got one of their CDs. It's
oh
great.
really?
Yeah, I got a couple of Tony Levin solo stuff. That's amazing. Yeah, yeah. You're going to be blown away.
Oh man, and it's a small place too.
Did
I
your
mean,
brother go see Lydia Lovelace in Austin?
I wouldn't count on it. My brother talks about going to a lot of shows, but he doesn't go to any shows.
Well, you tell him I'll never speak to him again.
Tell
And
him
we talk all the time. Like it's
that's
just going to
right.
upset him. Ruth gives me Underwood. I'll tell you, Ruth Underwood is a genius musician. I just love her playing on every. She's amazing. Percussionist. Wow. LOL. Barclay James Harvest is a poor man's Moody Blues. Probably.
Well, and that's a direct. They actually Barclay James Harvest was compared in the
Oh,
media
really?
to that, and then they have a song. They wrote a song on a record that's called "Poor Man's Moody Blues."
Oh,
So
really? Oh, I
yeah,
didn't know that. Shows what I know. I have one Barclay James Harvest album. I don't even know what it's called.
Hmm.
Alice Cooper ate it up. What's that mean? Who he thinks he is, Bela Bartok? Yeah, pretty much. Zappa's third movement from Bartok's piano concerto on Make a Jazz Noise. Yes, that's another great live
I
album.
need to make a jazz noise. Yeah.
Glenn, you have to hear Anecdoten, the CD Until All the Ghosts Are Gone. Excellent CD. Do you know that one?
Yeah, Anecdoten. Yeah.
Is it what is that all about?
I think they are. I think they're Prague. I don't know. I don't think they're. I don't want to speak out of my ass here. Well, you know what? That's never stopped me before. I want to say maybe I don't know if I want to say they're from like Scandinavia or something, because like Scandinavia and Prague is something else in these days, as Steve would probably support. But I don't know a ton about Anecdoten, but I've heard of them.
I'm making a note. Steve, in answer to your question, it was a 2-hour Zappa discussion, and now we're winding down and just talking as buddies back and forth here.
I'll be joining Steve tomorrow, Glenn.
Oh, is it tomorrow? You're going to that concert?
Oh no, but Steve and I are chatting tomorrow, and we are ranking the Badfinger catalog.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Zappa one night, Badfinger the next. You know.
I don't know. Straight up. That's all I know. And no dice.
May or may not be my number one and number two. We shall see, Glenn. We shall see. You'll
You
just have
consider
to...
the Magic Christian soundtrack album in this catalog?
Yes, because it's not a soundtrack.
Well, yeah.
But yes. In fact, that might be a top 3. You just don't know. You'll find out.
Posthumous release FZ from Oz has some novelty tunes. I have it. I don't know where it is, but I have it. I can't find it. What a mess. The hell am I ever going to clean this up? Crazy. Rank the original Mothers albums. So how many original Mothers albums are there? There's only, well, we kind of did that already.
Yeah, and I mean,
so we got Freak Out, Absolutely Free. Lumpy Gravy's not a Mothers album.
no.
So what are we talking about? Freak Out, Absolutely Free. We're only in it for the money. What other one?
Is Uncle Meat?
I don't know if Uncle Meat's considered
most of the music from the Mothers movie, but Uncle Meat would probably be at the bottom just because it's so difficult. But then I think so. Both Weasels and Burnt Weenie Sandwich were more. It's the old Mothers, but it was like posthumous. Like
they
were released after the breakup.
Yeah,
but
it's kind of hard to catch up on it. But I did my 3 of Absolutely Free, Freak Out, and We're Only in It for the Money. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if you include these Cardboard Head Guy, I'd go with these 2. But I can also see being like, that doesn't really count.
I put Burnt Weenie Sandwich 4 and Weasels with my Flesh 5.
Yeah.
They're from Sweden. Sound like King Crimson and Others. Oh,
that's right. That's good.
Hey, if anybody sounds like King Crimson, you pretty much sold me. Canard de Jour Trilogy was an aborted medley played on that tour. Weasels really is a funny album cover. It goes through my head now and again, just the words. Yeah.
It's like one of those phrases I'll, just whisper to somebody at work just to freak them out a little bit,
They don't, yeah. Hey, the Weasels rip my flesh.
If people only knew that 98% of the references I make is for music 50 years ago, I'd be a much cooler person, but,
Is this a story that Mickey Dolenz told, or is this I kind of, I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know, man, but that could be this could be the way that we get Sam St. John into Frank Zappa, right?
Yeah. Well, I think he liked them as people, and then he was a Monkees fan. Like, he didn't have a problem with the Monkees.
Yeah.
Speaking of Burnt Weenie, Little House I Used to Live In is one of my fave Zappa tracks. Yeah, it's a great track. You're cool enough, mate.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Wondrous.
Oh, he was talking to me. Why'd you think he was talking to you?
Because I said I'd be a lot cooler.
Oh.
You're already cool, man. You don't need the gas.
It's true. Mickey was to be the original Flo.
Well, it's like you would think there's no way, and then you're like, there's people back in the day. They'd be like, there's no way that the Turtles are going to join up with Frank Zappa.
Exactly.
And look, I mean, you know what I mean?
True.
So very well could have obviously been.
Yeah, that's true. When you look at it that way.
Yeah.
I read Mickey Dolenz biography, and I don't remember him mentioning that, but I could have just missed it. Frank was on the Monkey Show dressed as Nesmith and dressed. Yeah, that was very cool. Yeah. And then again in Head, too. Yeah. Well, I think they all lived in Laurel Canyon, right? The whole scene. So everybody knew each other. Yeah. Wow. Well, this has been fun.
This has been great. I hope
Thanks for doing this.
And it's so much fun for you with Sam soon and everybody else, man.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I couldn't you've been amazing. Thank you. Couldn't imagine it kicking off any better than this. It was fantastic. You are a
Thank
good
you.
man.
Thank you, Glenn. I
Please, as it
appreciate you,
says,
man.
scrolling across there, please subscribe to Alex at Beer and Vinyl.
I'm pushing for 400, Glenn.
Alex, I think you are killing it. Like, you are a
Yeah.
natural, man. I'm telling you, I love watching every video you put out, and I mean that sincerely. I just think you are just ooze.
That's it. Just stop there. I just
Whatever through the screen is just awesome. No, seriously, I'm seriously. You seriously. I
well,
just think the world of you.
you're the best, man. I appreciate that. And,
Yeah.
and Sam is here now, and so that would be the perfect Sam. Did you know that there's a Nesmith a Nez Frank Zappa connection? You know, you would have loved it. So
Yeah, you should. Yeah, you need to start listening to Frank Zappa now, Sam, because Mickey Dolenz was asked to join the Mothers of Invention, and Zappa was on the Monkees. And come on, looked it up. Dolan said Zappa skid him, but he could not get out of his contract. Oh, interesting. He did know that.
wow,
I knew both. Wow, very cool. Yeah. So, you got anything coming up you want to promote, or?
Well, I'm not sure. You know, the great Steve at All the World's a Stage will be on his. I'm not sure if we're doing it live or just doing a pre-recorded video, but doing a video with Steve. We're ranking the Badfinger catalog, which I'm really excited for. Just love that band and wish they got more, love in the greater community. And then, of course, you know, at least on my channel, we'll be doing. Hopefully, we can still call it the Basement After Dark. You know, Glenn, that's something.
You have my blessing.
I appreciate that, because this After Dark, Glenn, is a very special one because it's Valentine's Day after dark.
Oh, and you know what? I have to work Valentine's Day.
Man, I mean, bring your whips and chains. It's going to be
My
great.
poor wife is going to be all by herself on Valentine's night. I don't know what to do, but I do have a really nice Valentine's Day gift coming my way.
Oh,
yeah, I picked it out myself.
Very nice.
Yeah, it's so I'll wait to unbox it.
I was gonna say
it
sounds really dirty, Glenn, but it's
no,
not.
it's not. It's music related. It's awesome. Yeah, it's not. I didn't get any leather boxers or anything. It's.
Are you going to actually question? Are you going to pick up the new I'm just going to call it the French thing, but the Jethro Tull period between, like, they just released
that hotel thing or whatever it's called.
Yes.
I don't know. I had the box, the box anniversary box. They're the book style sets they released.
Yeah.
When they released the Passion Play, they released that was part of it, if I remember correctly.
Oh, really? It might have been. Yeah, you know what? I think you're right. I think it was released as part of the box.
I sold that. I think I sold it for more money I paid for it, so I sold it because I would never listen to that in a million years. I don't like that album.
I might stream it because I'm not a huge Passion Play guy, and so I wonder if these sessions were,
I don't recall him being really excited about any of it. So
it is a Steven Wilson remix, so I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I'll give it a listen. If I like it, I'll buy it for sure. Yeah. But I'm really loving. You saw that I picked up that 20 Years of Tull box set.
Oh man, what a deal they got
really
there!
Cheap.
Yeah,
they had a great deal, and I had that back in the '80s when it came out, and I haven't heard it for years. But that's a great comp. Every song, the way they sequenced it and everything, it's just perfect.
Yeah.
Frank Zappa and the Monkees. Yes. That's what they could have called it instead of the Mothers. Meet Frank and Mike was FB friend. Alex will wear his Cupid diaper.
That was a secret, Sam. I told you that in confidence.
Les Dudek.
So he's one of these people I just lie and say we're related. It's because it's easier. I'm not the only Dudek anybody would know. So, and great guitarist. So of course I'm going to say,
Yeah. Yeah, it's your dad.
Yeah, it's like, we go way back.
Uncle. Whatever.
So,
wow. Yeah, I haven't got much coming up. You know what I'm trying to get into now? Turned into such a Hackett freak, and I am such a casual Genesis fan. I am trying so hard to love Genesis. Like, I think I'm going to get it. I think the light bulb's going to go off, and I'm just going to go, yeah, this is pretty good. You know what album I listened to today? And I know Peter Gabriel's not on it, but it was Steve Hackett's last album. Was Wind and Wuthering.
Beautiful record.
Good record.
Great record.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
just listened to it for the first time today, and I went, "That's a pretty good record. I liked it."
well, and I'm fresh off, the most recent Prog Corner episode was our 10 favorite Genesis songs, and
Uh-huh.
um, Wind and Wuthering, and then Trick of the Tail, which was the one before that,
Yeah,
both heavily represented. Those are outstanding albums.
yeah.
Because
I've got Trick of the Tail. I like that one.
to me, the Genesis drop for me personally wasn't after Peter left; it was after Steve left.
Yeah,
And so those are great records for sure.
yeah. Because the ones I really, really like are Foxtrot and Selling England by the Pound. They're kind of my two favorite
Yeah,
Genesis albums.
yeah,
The ones that I could listen to and go, yeah, no, I really like those records. And the other ones I struggle a bit with.
yeah. I don't know if the Lamb will ever be
Never
one,
be a favorite.
and that's okay. I would say Nursery Crime. I put
I
up
have
there
Nursery
too.
Crime on vinyl and on CD. So,
It
yeah.
kicks off the musical box is just, 10 minutes of
And
just greatness. But,
also, I listened to Trespass today too.
yep. Now, no Steve Hackett on that, but it's a great record.
Yeah. Steve
No
Hackett's not on that album?
no Steve Hackett, and that's Anthony Phillips, and
Oh, okay.
no Phil Collins on
I
that.
have two Anthony Phillips solo albums. He needs some good solo records.
Yeah. Yeah, I see
Yeah.
those out a lot of times.
Yeah, they got great covers. Talk
Oh,
about good
yeah.
albums. Yeah.
Yeah. No, Trespass is great. It doesn't no Phil and no Steve, but the Knife, man. The Knife's great.
Yeah.
And
Wow. I haven't watched
Stagnation.
your 10 best Genesis songs. I get the feeling Supper's Ready's probably I bet you Scott went crazy on that. I know that's a
Yeah,
favorite.
well, we were talking before. I prefaced the list that I did not include Supper's Ready because I viewed it as like it's like a retired jersey. It's like it hangs in the rafters. We all know it's the best.
Yeah.
It's like this. If I were to do a yes ranking of my top 10 songs, of course, Close to the Edge is at the top. Of course, Gates of Delirium is at the top. But if it means I can bring in something else, that I feel okay retiring those jersey numbers and bringing in something else that might be
Good
lesser
point.
known.
That's a good way to do it.
So
Yeah. Listen to Firth of Fifth Studio. What album's that on?
Firth the Fifth is Selling England by the Pound, and it's
Okay. Yeah. All right.
and it's kind of become one of Steve Hackett's like best moments. I mean, the guitar solo that he has in Firth the Fifth is just beautiful.
Spend a Week with Selling England by the Pound. Yeah, no, I really like that album. I like the Steve Hackett, the live album we did where he does the whole album, Selling England by the Pound. That's excellent. That's why I'm kind of coming at it in a backwards way because I never really liked Genesis that much, but I love that Steve Hackett doing those songs. Just for some reason, he just brings them to life for me. I don't know why.
I'm excited for I have not pre-ordered the record. I'm going to probably stream it on Friday.
Yeah.
And then I order it, but Scott, he gave it a 9 out of 10. And
yeah, no,
sounds like some good
I
stuff.
can already wait. That's been my the one album for the whole year that I'm been excited about waiting. So
yeah,
very happy to get that. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to call it a night. I want to thank everybody who watched. We had, I think, around 30 people at one point, so that's very cool. We appreciate the support. Next week, Sam St. John, one-on-one featuring Bob Dylan. The week after that, I'm moving out of the music for a week. I'm having my daughter on to discuss her rather interesting wrestling career with photography.
That's going to be great.
Photography for WWE. And so I'm going to try and round up as many wrestling fans in the vinyl community as I can find.
Yeah.
To watch that because it'll be really interesting. My daughter's had a really interesting life and she's got a great job and she's got, even for women out there who are looking for careers, I hope get your daughters and stuff to watch the video because I think it'll be motivating for them.
Yeah.
So thanks again, Alex. This has been fantastic. I was excited all freaking week to get this going and it couldn't have been better. I hope we weren't too scattered. I hope we weren't too stupid about Zappa, but we thank everyone for educating us and playing along. And again, thanks.
Thanks, Glenn. You're the best, man.
Have a great night. Take care.